floor gallery. If that is full, there is overflow seating on the second floor in the Victoria Room where you will be able to see and hear the meeting. We live stream the meeting on our YouTube channel, and the recording is available after the meeting. This meeting is also broadcast Live on your TV. Cogeco subscribers 10, HD channel 700, and rebroadcasted on Wednesday at 9 a.m. and on Saturday at noon. Because meetings are accessible to the public in all these ways, video or audio recording by members of the public is not permitted in the council chambers. This is to ensure that all attendees and those who come to make a deputation feel at ease. Thank you for your cooperation. Councillor MacDonald, do you have the adoption of today's agenda?
Yes, I do. Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Richardson, that the agenda of the open session of the Committee of the Whole Tuesday, April 7th, 2026 be adopted and circulated, and with the following amendments. Additions, 6.2, be in correspondence from the Kawartha Lakes Haliburton Federation of Agriculture relating to concerns regarding the ALTO high-speed rail project. Item 6.3 be in correspondence from the Victoria Beef Farmers related to the opposition to the ALTO high-speed rail project. Deletions, item 5.2 be a deputation by Glenn Wood and Debbie Collins of the Fenton Falls Legion relating to the request of the installation of a crosswalk on Lindsay Street in Fenland.
Thank you. Any other comments, additions, deletions to the agenda? Seeing none, all in favor? And that is passed. Today, for people in the audience or who may be watching, we have asked council and staff to dress in Canada colors because we have the great privilege of having Kawartha Lake's own gold medal winner, John Thurston, with us today. John has very graciously taken some time out of his busy schedule to join us and will talk to us a little bit about his experiences in Cortina and perhaps up to and including that last end that was really thrilling. So I know, John, you're under time pressures, so please, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, thank you, Doug. Thank you to the council for inviting me. It's an honor to be here. Loving all the Canada gear, I have to say. It's pretty cool to see all the red and white. Yeah, just a truly unforgettable experience in Cortina representing Canada at the Paralympics. This is my second Paralympics, but it was super special. Italy's got a special place in my heart. Everything we staged in Brunic, Italy, it's on the northern border of Austria and Italy. We had an amazing staging camp there. Beautiful weather, sun and blue skies for 2 weeks while we were in Italy, and just surrounded by mountains. You're in the Alps the whole time there. And then we moved into Cortina to the athlete village. It was quite stunning too. It's just in a well of mountains. You were just 4 walls of mountains. And just gorgeous. They did a great job with the Paralympic Village there. And then we got to go to Cortina and check out the venue, which was spectacular. It's honestly the nicest venue I've ever curled in. And yeah, it was just super special. We had an amazing team that just continued to find the ways we needed to improve during the week. And we were thankful we got off to a great start. And then, yeah, going undefeated in round robin, first time ever, was super special. And yeah, it was just incredible. We obviously had a tough game against Korea in the semifinals. Come from behind win there. Mark Idison made 2 beauties we end up stealing 3 to win the game. That was super special. And then we meet China again in the final, who is one of the best countries in the world at wheelchair curling. They're reigning Paralympic champion, reigning world champion. So we always meet them in the playoffs. So it was great. We had a great game against them in the round robin. So it was fitting that the two of us met in the finals, and I'm sure everybody got to see it was a back and forth game. And then, yeah, that eighth end it was quite exciting. Obviously, Mark made a beautiful shot on his first to draw, really close, measurable between the two. Fortunate to get a miss out of China on their last. And then it was just, we were under a time crunch. And as everybody was yelling at their TVs, you could imagine what the venue was. Everybody's just so loud. And so we're trying to communicate back and forth to each other. I'm trying to make sure that we're on the same page, me and Mark, and he threw a beauty with 2.8 seconds left to tap us in to make it for sure and to win that gold. And that was super special. Just honestly, it's been a whirlwind since coming back, but it was a special team to compete with. Our coaching staff, our athletes, the support we got from everyone that led us there, and honestly, the support that we got from our communities. It's amazing to hear how many people watched, tuned in, cheered us on. It's super special. Love to give a thanks to some of the local curling clubs here. Obviously, Bob Cajun's been a huge supporter of mine. It's amazing how they've become accessible. And I've been able to train there. They've been great with me, and Lindsay Curling Club has been amazing too. I got a lot of practice ice there this year as well. They became fully accessible again too. So it's great to see those efforts. It certainly helps athletes like me to pursue my dreams. And but yeah, it was just a super special journey to Italy, and something I'll never forget. But thank you everyone for cheering us on, and we brought the gold home, so it was pretty special.
So there may be a couple of questions from council. I'll remind you that John's under a time crunch here, so keep your questions short. Anybody? Well,
that was perfect.
I have a couple of questions.
Okay, shoot, Doug.
In your curling, there's no sweeping, so it's even harder to deliver the stone because there's no help from sweeping. So you really have to get your weight down. Is that a huge issue, or you get used to it as you go?
Yeah, I think it's a part of our game, so we're certainly accustomed to it. I think certainly a challenge. I mean the level of accuracy you need out of your hand has to be there, especially with weight control and trajectory, because we don't have a sweeper that can keep a rock straight. So even when we're throwing hit weights and that, we're kind of adjusting with broom. But certainly you've seen it in some of our draws in Cortina. If you get some, ice was a little different in each draw. Morning draw was a little more consistent everywhere, and night draws were a little more variable. So you get more pathy ice, I would call it. So there, when you have sweepers, you don't really notice as much pathy ice because they're sweeping and they're warming up spots. So I think when you get into that more variable ice, that's where it really comes out, because you could throw the same weight in a different path that would get you to the button, and it might come up 12 feet short in a different path. So we're trying to do our best to kind of do that, mapping the sheet out and figuring out what speeds are in different paths. So there's definitely that element to the game, but it's certainly something that we work hard at and try and bring our best.
You're not just a curler, you're also a water skier, and we're coming into water ski season. I understand you've already been traveling to start practicing for that.
Yeah, so got back to workouts here to try and get back into water ski shape. Obviously, cardio is a big one for it. That differs from curling. But yes, I've booked my trip. So we have spring training with the national team down in Sacramento. We usually train every spring in the U.S. When I started, we went to Florida. And then for the past 3 seasons, we did Louisiana, and we're gonna go to Sacramento this year. It's gonna be the same water ski lake that I skied at the World Championships in 2023. So it's a beautiful site. We know it well, and I'm super excited to get on the water.
Thank you. Councillor Perry.
Just briefly, congratulations again, and thanks for all that hard work that pays off, and we're lucky we get to share in all that pride. So thanks for that.
It's amazing.
I was just wondering, as an athlete and as a person, can you take us to that moment when you realized you were going to win gold? Like, how did that feel? Where were you? Can you bring us there?
Honestly, I don't know. I probably can't describe the words of how it felt, but just honestly, it's been such a lot of hard work and dedication to get there. We've been so close. We lost to China in 2022 in the semifinals, bounced back, won the bronze. We got silver in 23, losing to China. We got silver in 24, losing to Norway. We lost to China in the semifinals in 25, beat Slovakia for the bronze. So it's been, just trying to get over that hump and win that gold. It's been a lot of hard work and dedication and continuing to try and push and get better. So just a total elation, like excitement, and I don't know, you seen me on the screen, I'm screaming from the top of my lungs, like that's what it meant to me. It was just, for all of us, it's just a lot of time and dedication and hard work, so it's the best feeling in the world, though, I will say that.
I bet, thanks. Well, you just let us know, you didn't just show up and win gold, apparently.
No, no.
It was a long route, which is part of the story we don't always hear.
Yeah.
Just really briefly, what keeps you going?
I think the love of the sport, obviously. I think you have to kind of have the passion and love for it and the dedication it takes to go in the early mornings in a cold building and just spend hours on the ice. My coach is here, Carl Rennick, and he can attest to all the cold mornings that I've dragged him out of bed, and he's been there. But I wouldn't be where I am today without Carl Rennick. He actually reached out to me at the rec center, got me to try wheelchair curling for the first time. I'd never curled in my life. I watched a little bit in the 2010 Olympics, didn't really know much about the sport. So he introduced me to the sport and has taught me everything and has put the hours in on the ice to help me get to where I am. So I'm super thankful to him. It's been a fun journey.
Thanks. We have a couple of presentations for you. Councillor Ashmore, I believe you have a presentation for John.
Mr. Mayor and fellow councillors and staff and guests and Carl, thank you for coming, and of course our special guest, John. I just wanted to welcome you here to City Kawartha Lakes, to City Council and to City Hall, where we're so happy to have you here. We're honored to have you here, and we want to thank you for taking the time to come here. I know you have a busy schedule, and all over you've been doing a lot of work even after the Olympics. So it just seems like the other day when 4 years ago I was, as well as Councillor Warren and Deputy Mayor Richardson and Bob Cajun 4 years ago, when we were recognizing your bronze medal, and that was great. And so that was the time's gone really fast, and so it's certainly myself and Councillor Warren, we've represented you and your families for many years, and certainly an honor, the Dunsford area, to do that. And so you're such an inspiration to everyone, every age group. You're an inspiration, and we want to thank you from the bottom of our heart. And we really appreciate all the work that you've done for not only your community but for the country, our country, Canada. And we put together a nice little plaque. It's from City Kawartha Lakes. Congratulations to John Thurston. member of the gold medal wheelchair curling team, Milano Cortina Paralympics Winter Games 2026. So I'll present this to you, John, on behalf of the Kawartha Lakes, and you certainly earned it.
That's amazing.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Brad. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Council. Amazing. Yeah.
Councillor Warren, I think we have some City of Kawartha Lakes swag for you.
Just briefly, we're just so excited. I was a curler and I watched that and I was going, go John, right on Facebook. It was just so exciting
It's amazing.
to see you do that and you screaming, yeah!
Right?
So this might just help you in your travels.
Amazing.
There's all sorts of swag in there, something for your lunch, something for everything. So I hope
Perfect.
you'll use it with pride.
Of course.
Yay. That's
That's
all I have
awesome.
to say. Thank you
Thank you so much, Pat. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. So, John, if you'd be so kind, we'll go out the back and take some pictures by the staircase where you came in. And but before we do that, can I have a motion to receive the presentation by John Thurston, Councillor Ashmore, Councillor Warren? All in favor? And that's passed. Thank you. So we'll take a short recess here, folks, while we go and take some pictures. So just hang in there and we'll come back and get on with the rest of the meeting. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest on anything on today's agenda? Seeing none, if any should arise, advise the chair and we'll deal with them accordingly. Moving on to item 5, which is deputations. We have one deputation today, and it's concerns relating to the ALTO high-speed rail project. And we have Miss Lori Reynolds. Miss Reynolds, would you like to come to the podium? And you have 5 minutes. Okay, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Thanks for agreeing to hear my deputation today regarding the ALTO high-speed rail, or the HSR proposal as it's often referred to. My name is Lori Reynolds, and I'm a lifelong resident of the Bethany Pontypool area in the city of Kawartha Lakes. I first learned of this project on January the 20th when Tracy Richardson, our Ward 8 councillor, posted about it on her Ward 8 Facebook page. And I clicked on the link and fairly quickly went down a rabbit hole of what was involved with this $90 billion federal project, and quickly became concerned about what this project would mean for our rural communities and the lack of in-person consultation in the city of Kawartha Lakes specifically. Project as it's proposed represents a significant threat to local livelihoods, landscapes, and ways of life, and has far-reaching consequences. I'm here today to ask the City of Kawartha Lakes Council to fully oppose the ALTO HSR project as it currently stands. As you're likely aware, other municipalities along the proposed corridor are feeling the same impacts of this proposed project and have stated their opposition. HSR with no land crossings will sever many local and country roads, and this will lead to longer travel times for emergency services, school buses, snow removal, and waste collection. Recreational trail networks and farmlands would be bisected. Businesses on either side of the fenced rail system will be negatively impacted. Communities will become divided. Many families have deliberately chosen the countryside to preserve nature and live in peace. A 300-kilometer-an-hour train will wreak havoc on this, and it offers no meaningful benefits to our residents and comes with significant and long-lasting harm. I understand that the lands in the proposed ALTO corridors fall into the former Manvers Township region of the city of Kawartha Lakes, and I realize there are many other areas of the city not directly impacted by the HSR proposal. Logistics costs, however, for ALTO will be downloaded onto the municipalities across the targeted areas. There will be a long-term operating burden for the city of Kawartha Lakes resulting from this HSR line, and this will require the city to increase property taxes for all residents. Communities such as ours should not be left to absorb the long-term effects of this project, which does not serve our community. I understand the necessity of advancing the existing infrastructure of our province and country, but I cannot accept that this needs to come at the expense of rural communities. Residents need affordable daily commute transit that serves the communities through which it runs, and this should be done by upgrading existing systems along already existing corridors. High-frequency rail versus high-speed rail should be considered. Transit should be viable for a greater percentage of the population and be affordable to ride. Communities within the city of Kawartha Lakes that stand to be bisected by the HSR will not benefit from this rail system. Bill C-15, which received royal assent March 26th of 2026, included amendments to the Expropriation Act, specifically for high-speed rail. This bill expedites federal land acquisition and significantly narrows the procedural rights available to property owners. The right to negotiate for the values of their properties has been removed. ALTO has stated that expropriation of properties will begin immediately following the establishment of the final corridor as soon as late 2026, early 2027. Where will all the residents go that stand to be displaced by expropriation as a result of this project? As you know, we are already in a housing crisis. There has been no full environmental impact assessment done for the ALTO high-speed rail project. Only field studies are proposed. This is not acceptable. This project could destroy many of Eastern Ontario's ecosystems. This high-speed rail line would have unacceptable environmental impacts on sensitive watershed systems, wetlands, fish and wildlife habitats, and natural heritage features. This 1,000-kilometer stretch of fenced rail system will prevent the migration of many species. An HSR project that destroys wetlands and protected areas and prime agricultural lands should not be promoted as a green initiative. The Canadian food security should be a number one concern. We have only 2 to 5% arable land remaining in Ontario and Quebec. 1 acre of high-yield farm production can feed hundreds of people annually in a time when our grocery bills are soaring at record rates. There's no logical explanation for ALTO proposing luxury travel over food. Farmland is precious, and we cannot afford to lose more of it. For myself and my family, like many others, the potential impacts of this project are profoundly personal. I reside on 2 multi-generational family farms, both of which fall into the ALTO corridors being considered for the project. My father, grandfathers on both sides of my family, and my great-grandfather on the farm where I reside have farmed the lands which my husband and myself and my children now farm. These properties are more than acreage. Generations of my family have built their lives, homes, and livelihoods on these farms. They represent my family's heritage, investment, and the future. They hold deep meaning and are intended to be passed down to the next generations of our family. In closing, I'm looking for this council to push back and formally oppose the ALTO project in its current form. Thank you.
Thank you. If you just stay there in case there's, or in the event there's questions. Could I have a motion to receive? Deputy Mayor Richardson, Councillor McDonald. Questions? Deputy Mayor Richardson.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor, more of a comment at first and then follow-up question. Thank you very much for coming today, Ms. Reynolds, for attending and really thoroughly outlining yours and many of the Ward 8's concerns regarding the ALTO project and the impacts currently being experienced with the proposed corridor. I want to assure you that these concerns are being taken very seriously. When the ALTO project team came to council last fall, in theory, I understand the principle of the project, but had direct questions, much like these that you've raised today, and those questions still remain unanswered. We're maintaining ongoing communication with Jamie Smale's office to ensure that the local perspectives are being conveyed. From the onset, it's been my view that the online consultation process has fallen short in so many terms of transparency and meaningful engagement across rural Ontario. You will also note that there's correspondence in today's agenda. The Kawartha Lakes Federation of Agriculture and Victoria County beef farmers are included. Mayor Emsley, Councillor McDonald, and I recently met with these groups and recognized the validity and importance of the concerns being raised by the agricultural community. With the mayor's support, this matter was also brought forward to the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus, where a resolution was unanimously endorsed. So thank you for doing that, Mr. Mayor. Additionally, later in the agenda, I brought forward a memorandum recognizing and recommending to the council to formally oppose the ALTO project in its current form, consistent with the position of the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus. The current proposal includes one of a single stop in Eastern Ontario, which raises concerns and inequitable benefit, particularly to the rural communities and lands. The recommendation also calls for ALTO to provide additional accessibility in-person consultation opportunities within the city of Kawartha Lakes. That's what we're asking for. As you and I have discussed on several occasions, since this federal announcement has been made, your concerns today reflect those that I've heard by hundreds of folks that have reached out to me since the announcement. These concerns regarding local impacts, regarding the environment, regarding the limited benefits and the long-term implications are valid and significant. Thank you for attending today. As I have a personal venue in this as well, and I want you to know that we are listening. Maybe just one question from that. From your perspective, what actions do you feel would help address or mitigate some of these concerns that you're raising today?
Definitely the consultation needs to be more of an open town hall type setting. My son attended the consultation in Peterborough, which is the only one nearby for local people to attend at the end of February. And, you know, it's like a science fair type setting, right? With just a bunch of booths around the room where you can walk up, ask a question, get an answer. There's really nobody taking any notes about what the feedback is that's being provided. There's not everybody hearing the same question that's asked and the response to that question. That's not the format of these meetings. The online interactive map where they're asking individuals to go in and put a pin on the map and is very difficult to use. You're trying to sort of drag your mouse around and expand the map and see where is your place even on the map that you're trying to put the pin on. It's very difficult to read. And then, you know, put your pin on there and it's a challenge. And people don't know about this project. They think, woohoo, a train, that's great, we need a train. They don't understand the type of train we're talking about here, that this is a 65-meter wide double train track, highly fenced on either side, another 2 service roads, kilometer-half swath of property that they're going to consume for 1,000 kilometers from Toronto to Ottawa. It's something.
Thank you, and I believe you've articulated that very well, and we do have the same concerns as you do. So open up the floor for additional questions.
Councillor Warren.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for coming, and yeah, it's concerning. You said as it currently stands, so would you be in favor of some high-speed rail in some different form?
Personally, I would like to see high-frequency rail that allows land crossings and doesn't have huge fences on either side of it, I don't believe, so that roads aren't cut off to communities, farms aren't cut in half. You're still able to cross those tracks. I mean, to have a high-speed rail that does 300 kilometers an hour, could 200 kilometers an hour for a high-frequency rail not satisfy the same requirements? This isn't a commuter train, from what I gather. They won't state how much it's going to cost to ride. It's not going to be cheaper than VIA, I'm quite certain. This is not, people in Peterborough are very excited. I can commute down to work in Toronto. Well, not unless your job's probably going to pay 3 times what it does today.
Thank you. It was just, wanted
Yeah,
the high
yeah.
frequency kind of makes sense
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Okay,
and along corridors that already exist, preferably.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for coming. I think that the tenure that we're hearing from the agricultural community and also that was discussed at the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus, which takes up 113 communities in Eastern Ontario and is comprised of 13 mayors and wardens. Their view was we already have a transportation corridor in the south, and that is the ideal place for it. The support was for high-speed rail, but not this high-speed rail in this location. And I think that you'll see that there is a motion later on in our agenda that Councillor Richardson has drafted and will be considered by council. And that is the tenure of what we are talking about. Not here, not now. Use what you have that's available. So thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you for your support.
Yep. So we have a mover and seconder, all in favor? And that's passed. Moving on to correspondence. The first item of correspondence is City of Kawartha Lakes Integrity Commissioner Annual Report for the operating period of February 28th, 2025 to February 27th, 2026 by Charles A. Harnick, ADR Chambers, Office of the Integrity Commissioner for the City of Kawartha Lakes. I have a motion to receive that correspondence. Councillor Warren, Councillor Perry, any comments or questions on that? Seeing none, all in favor, and that's passed. Item 6.2 is concerns relating to the ALTO high-speed rail project. Paul Buckley, President, Kawartha Lakes Halliburton Federation of Agriculture. That the correspondence from Paul Buckley, President of the Kawartha Lakes Halliburton Federation of Agriculture regarding concerns relating to the ALTO high-speed rail project be received, and that this recommendation be brought forward to council for consideration at the next regular council meeting. Councillor Doble and Deputy Mayor Richardson, all in favor? And that's passed. Our next piece of correspondence is item 6.3, which is opposition to the ALTO high-speed rail project. Cassandra Gorel, President, Victoria Beef Farmers, and Adam Shea, Victoria Beef Farmers. that the correspondence from Cassandra Gorel and Adam Shea of the Victoria Beef Farmers regarding opposition to the ALTO high-speed rail project be received, and that this recommendation be brought forward to council for consideration at the next regular council meeting. Councillor Ashmore, Councillor Perry, all in favor? And that's passed. Moving on to presentations. Our first presentation will be on screen, and it is Kawartha Conservation, and it's the Burnt River Floodplain Mapping Update presentation. Folks, I'll do this presentation first, and then I think we'll go, with council's permission, we'll go to Deputy Mayor Richardson's memo so that we can deal with the memo so these folks don't have to hang around for a couple hours. Is that okay with you? Yeah? All right. Well, you're welcome to hang around for a couple hours because I know how fascinating this all is to you. So, okay. So we'll do the presentation first. And then we'll deal with Deputy Mayor Richardson's memo. There we are. Good afternoon.
Hello, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Fantastic. So my name is Galen Urix. I'm the floodplain mapping GIS technician with Kawartha Conservation. And today I'd like to present to you the findings from our floodplain mapping study we did on a section of Burnt River between Hillside Drive and Kinmount Dam. Next slide, please. Just before I get into it, I'd just like to do a couple acknowledgements. So we would not be able to do a project of this size without assistance from the Government of Canada as well as the City of Kawartha Lakes. We are very lucky in gaining over $90,000 in funding through the Flood Hazard Identification and Mapping Program put on by the federal government, which was graciously matched by City of Kawartha Lakes. Next slide, please. So just before I get into this, I'd just like to go over what a floodplain is. So it's essentially the area adjacent to any water body or water course that could be subjected to high water during a flooding event. Next slide, please. Okay, so why is floodplain mapping important? So it assists with the development of emergency or municipal emergency management plans, as well as identifies areas of concern. It informs municipal conservation authority staff and the public where floodplains exist and provides associated flood elevations. It also protects people and property from death and damage by regulating existing and future development. Next slide, please. So these are some examples of areas that we would like to prevent in the future. As you can see, there's some interesting choices in where people have built some buildings. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is our study area. So we the study area for this was about 16.3 kilometers long, and there's about 125 properties that are adjacent to the Burnt River that would be impacted by flooding. Next slide, please. So over the next few slides, I'm going to show you some flooding that has occurred in the past. In the last 15 years, we've had 3 major flooding events in 2013, 16, and 2019 being the worst on record. And I can tell you when I started at Kawartha Conservation in 2012, I went up to the Burnt River in the fall of 2012, and I honestly couldn't comprehend how much water flows through the system during the spring, and especially during these big high water events. Of course, in the spring of 2013, we did have one of these big major events, and it was shocking to myself, and I'm sure to many people that have recently purchased in the area. It's insane the amount of water that goes through the system. So as you can see here, this is up at the Kinmount Dam, and this is the flooding that occurred in 2016. Next slide, please. Here's an aerial shot of looking south, and you can see Hillside Drive and County Road 121. Next slide, please. And here in the middle of the photo, you can see this is Hillside Drive, but on the left-hand side of the road there is where Centennial Park should be. It is covered in water. Next slide, please. And again, here is the bridge at Hillside Drive, just to give some perspective on how much flooding. I think in 2019, the water actually went over this bridge. Next slide, please. And speaking of 2019, here is looking upstream from that bridge, and you can see the sheer amount of water that is moving through the system. Next slide. And this is what it should look like on a normal day-to-day. This is the summer of 2025. Next slide. And this is looking downstream, and the park would be on your right-hand side. Next slide. And again, that's what it should look like. Next slide, please. And here again is the bridge itself, so it gives you a bit of perspective on how high the water has got in the past. And it's actually, if you go to that bridge now, you'll probably see logs and various debris actually wedged underneath the bridge. Next slide, please. So part of the reason why this area gets such a large amount of water is because the drainage area, just for perspective, is approximately a quarter the size of PEI. So all the water that falls within that drainage area ends up within the Burnt River and then flows through the system. Next slide, please. So when we're doing floodplain mapping, there is a lot of information that goes into creating essentially a flood model that best represents digitally what's going on the land. Now, we hired DM Wills for our engineering and modeling services, and this is a list of items I provided to them at the beginning of the project for their development of the model. Now, some of the key features that are key things that I provided to them are things like soils layers and ELC layers that helps with determining infiltration rates of water and how the water flows across the land. We're also very lucky to have a historic flow gauge and water level gauge within our study area that is owned by Water Survey Canada, and there's 60 years of data that we can pull from to help calibrate the model. Next slide, please. So here's some other examples of things we included. So it's very important to provide any historic flood studies that have already happened. We were actually able to use the 2019 study we did. The modeling for that helped with developing the modeling for this study. I was also fortunate enough that I was able to capture the high water marks for the 2013, 16, and 2019 flood events. So that information can be used to help calibrate the model, just to figure out if the model is producing flood lines at the same flood levels during that time period. And then one of the biggest pieces of background information that we can include that the province has actually provided to us is LiDAR. So if you haven't heard of LiDAR, I'll talk about it in the next slides, but essentially the province flew it in 2013 for us. And essentially it's a good digital representation of the topography of the land. And because it was flown in 2013, we know it is very accurate. And as a bonus, it's free. Normally, you'd have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this yourself, which we have done in the past with City of Kawartha Lakes for other projects. Next slide, please. So again, if you're not familiar what LiDAR is, essentially, we use a plane with a laser to digitally map the topography of the land. This gives us a really good, high accurate representation of what's going on the land, and that acts as the base for the model. Now, one thing with LiDAR, its laser bounces off of water, so that's where I come in. So next slide, please. So traditionally, when we need to fill in this gap of the bottom of the river or watercourse we are working on. So that's called a bathymetry survey. Now, traditionally, I go out in waders and I start wading the creeks and rivers, which I have done in the area, and essentially GPS the bottom of the creeks. Now, I'm not too extremely tall, so that's difficult with the Burnt River. Next slide, please. And you can click that once more and it should show a video. So, oh, maybe not. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Essentially what we used was a canoe to do this bathymetry survey and a long pole because we couldn't walk it. And traditionally you could get away with using a sonar unit that you could just drive a boat or a canoe around to do that type of work. But in this case, because the reception in the area wasn't that great, we had to do it by hand. So you can see me GPSing essentially the bottom, and we do that at designated cross sections throughout the entire length of river. Next slide, please. So here you can see some separation of the cross sections where we took points and all the points that we kind of took at each cross section. Next slide, please. And here you can see how many we did, cross sections we did throughout the whole study area. So it was about 116 cross sections there. Next slide, please. So one of the major important things that we needed to include into the modeling as well is the structures. So there's 3 structures within the study area: the Kinmount Dam, the Somerville Concession 9 Bridge, and then the Hillside Bridge. So I had to GPS these bridges so that we have a really accurate digital representation of these structures, because these structures will essentially hold back water, creating more flooding essentially behind them. They restrict flow, and the engineers need to know this information to put in the model. So next slide, please. So again, here is it's just a aerial view of kind of the points that I took at the Kinmount Dam. Next slide. And you can kind of see some of the key features that we GPSed while I was there. We also measured all the openings within the dam. And again, this all goes into the model just to determine how much water can actually go through these structures, because they will hold a lot of water back, causing flooding. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is where the process kind of all comes together. So we take all that background information and the surveyed information, and it gets sent over to the engineering team, and then they start running the models. Now, not to get too into the weeds about about flood modeling, but you should know that there are 2 types of models. One is the hydraulic model, and the other is the hydrologic model. So just briefly, the hydrologic model is essentially the amount of water generated on the landscape based on modeled storms. Now, the storms that we model throughout this process are like 2, 5-year, 10-year, 15, 20, and so on and so forth, up to the 100-year in Timmins. And essentially, it's a known amount of rain over a duration of time. And essentially, the hydrologic model focuses on rainfall runoff and the process of infiltration. The hydraulic model is essentially simulates the movement of water across the landscape to determine the depth, velocity, and extent of flooding based on the storm events that are being modeled. And in this case, the 100-year event ended up being what is called the regulatory event, which you can see mapped here on the right-hand side. We also, for requirements for this federal funding, we had to model for climate change. So that's the 200-year and 350-year storm, which were also mapped just to provide extra information to the public and for the government to have. Next slide, please. And just something to be aware of, that there's a lot of checks and balances that go to this process. So all of the mapping, modeling, and technical report is peer reviewed by a third-party engineer. So we hired Water's Edge to do that review for us. And then we also had a review done by the FIMP technical teams, the engineers with the federal government. And again, it's just to make sure that we are meeting the federal and provincial standards that are set out for us to follow in order to make sure we're following these guidelines. Next slide, please. Again, okay, so here is the produced flood line for this project. This is the 100-year flood event. So next slide. And you can see where it kind of fits in the grand scheme of the Burnt River. So thankfully, we had done in 2019 a floodplain mapping study from Hillside Drive down to Cameron Lake. And then in 2024, we did another flood study with the County of Halliburton and Ganaraska Conservation Authority, where we did floodplain mapping on the headwater lakes and connecting rivers to the Burnt River and Irondale River. So this study kind of fits in where we don't have mapping. So it was good to get this gap filled, and now the people in that area have information to go off of. So next slide, please. So here's more of a zoomed in look at the actual flood line. These are the flood maps that are produced by this study that are available to the public for free. And the key things to take note on these maps is that the red area is obviously the flood line and the extent of flooding. And you can see that there are yellow or orange lines, and those are called cross sections. Now, each cross section has an associated number with it, as well as associated flood elevation. So in the report, there's a table where you can actually look up what cross section applies to yourself, and then how high the water will be at that particular point. And then you can see on the map, there are some cross sections with that information actually labeled on it. But there is a table that is referenced, and that's where consultants, public, and city staff and conservation authority staff can look up that information and provide it to the public. So you can start flipping through these slides. We got 9 maps. So next slide. Perfect. Excellent. All right, you can go right here. Good way to place stop. So we were fortunate enough we were able to present all of our findings as well at a public information session held at the City of Kawartha Lakes. Next slide, please. We held this on March 9th in the Victoria Room. Now, we made a decision to do this because the technology was in-house at the City of Kawartha Lakes to do a hybrid style meeting. So we actually recorded that meeting on Zoom, and we wanted to make sure that people could, because it was in March and we were strict deadlines regarding the FIMP program, we had to do it in March essentially. So I wanted to make sure that it was accessible to everyone. So we had people who were able to show up in person, but they were also able to view it online. And then after the fact, able to view it through actually Kawartha Conservation's YouTube channel. Now, there was 2 presentations done, one by myself, essentially with the presentation you're seeing now, as well as Ryan Good, our engineering and modeling team. He went over the technical aspects of the project. We were also very fortunate enough to have a Q&A panel discussion with staff from the Ministry of Natural Resources, City of Kawartha Lakes, Parks Canada, Kawartha Conservation, and DM Wills, and we answered a lot of questions regarding the actual study itself. And individual roles that each organization kind of plays when it during flood events, and just general questions regarding Burnt River and how it actually operates. And again, this meeting is available on Kawartha Conservation's YouTube channel. So next slide. And you can see it here, the bottom left. There's a thumbnail. So if you want to review that, is already posted and ready to go. If you want to go through that. Next slide, please. So one thing we've also done is it should be up now, but the flood study information is on Kawartha Conservation's website. It's all free. Everything is free and accessible for anyone to download. I will be sending it to the City of Kawartha Lakes staff this week, and so it'll. Next slide, please. You can do, there we go, perfect. So it'll be with City of Kawartha Lakes staff this week, which then will be included in their city mapping, and it's available to staff to use. And potentially these elevations could be put into zoning bylaw for that area. We had already put the 2019 flood elevations into the recent bylaw update for Somerville. And then this information can assist with the emergency management planning. And one additional thing I'd like to say is that there is some interest to do a open house in Burnt River during the summer when people are up because I think it'll just be a little bit more accessible. So we'll be looking to do that in the future. We're just kind of planning out the details of that now. So next slide. So thank you very much for hearing me. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Let's get a motion to receive the presentation. Councillor Warren, Councillor Perry. Questions? Councillor Warren.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and I just want to thank Galen. I've seen this a few times now, and it's really good to be prepared, and I really appreciate all your work. And I'm happy that in the better weather, maybe some cottagers and other people can view this, and I look forward to Kawartha Conservation and yourself maybe coming to Burnt River or maybe even Kinmount too. So thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I have one. Look into your crystal ball. Are we going to be safe from flooding on the Burnt River this year?
That is a very good question. I guess speaking with our flood coordinator at our office, it's going to be very similar to, I guess, last year. So there is still a lot of snowpack up in the Halliburton kind of area, so we could still see some flooding, but what we want to see is this warm up and then cold, warm up and cold trend that we're seeing right now, which will help essentially alleviate that flooding smoother than all of it coming out at once.
We have no other questions, so we have a motion to receive. All in favor? And that's passed. We'll move on now to item 9.1, which is the memo from Councillor Richardson, Deputy Mayor Richardson, regarding the agricultural community's concerns regarding ALTO's consultation process. Do you want to move that? Do you want to speak to it? Okay.
You know I want to speak to it. So through you, Mr. Mayor, maybe just to highlight 3 of the bullet points in the recommendation for the people in the gallery, that the city formally requests ALTO to provide additional accessible in-person consultation opportunities within the city of Kawartha Lakes prior to advancing any decisions related to the ALTO initiative. That the city formally oppose the ALTO project in the current form as expressed by the Eastern Ontario Warden Caucus, as it only proposes a single stop in Eastern Ontario region benefiting urban residents at the expense of the rural residents and lands. That this resolution be referred to the Prime Minister of Canada, the Minister of Transport, and the Member of Parliament for Halliburton, Kawartha Lakes. And I'll just speak to it briefly. Again, I do want to thank Ms. Reynolds today for taking the opportunity to have a conversation with us. You really did allow us to feel how the residents and the agricultural community is feeling. There's so many unknown questions that we all have, and I felt that you really showed us how the general public in the former Manvers Township is feeling right now, so thank you for that. Just to sum up, because we did have a conversation regarding it when the deputation was there, Council, the ALTO proposal as it stands risks leaving rural communities like ours behind, offering limited benefit while replacing real strains on our residents, our agricultural land, environment, and infrastructure. Our farmers and our rural residents have not been adequately heard from, and the current consultation process has not met the standard of accessibility or inclusion they deserve. We're not opposing progress here today. We're calling for fairness. We're asking for a plan that reflects the realities, contributions, and voices of rural Ontario. Until that happens, we stand firmly and support our community and oppose this project in its current form, along with the same position of the Eastern Ontario Warden Caucus. I'm looking for your support today.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Doble? Councillor Doble, you want to speak to it?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm very pleased to support Deputy Mayor Richardson's memorandum. Council should formally oppose the ALTO project in its current form. There needs to be more consultation and serious consultation, and the government needs to be prepared to radically revise this plan. I think we're all for expanding rail transport, Years ago, I advocated with the town of Lindsay, County of Victoria, Durham Region, Uxbridge, and Brock Townships in the hopes of stopping the abandonment of the rail line from Uxbridge to Lindsay. Unfortunately, we failed, but boy, can you imagine having passenger train service into Toronto on a daily basis from Lindsay? The existing Via Rail line from Toronto to Havelock that used to stop in Pontypool. Governments of all stripes have been teasing us for decades now about restoring daily service. And do I dare mention the need, not the want or the desire, but the need for daily bus service from Kawartha Lakes to Toronto and Kawartha Lakes to Peterborough and back? And how about a 4-lane highway along Highway 35 from Lindsay to the 115? And I suppose that these things have little to do with a high-speed rail corridor, but the estimate of $60 to $90 billion for this corridor, restoring via rail service, daily bus service to Toronto, and a 4-lane highway that is safe and efficient from Pontypool to Lindsay could all be had for a small fraction of that cost. These are things that would profoundly support this portion of rural Ontario in ways that are real and practical. And these are things that should happen first before we embark on a high-speed rail service. Deputy Mayor Richardson also references the impact on farm communities from Ottawa to the GTA. Just today, I was reading in the Globe and Mail that there are international experts in global food security who are currently, probably as I speak, in Ottawa advising of the importance of Canada's food security as it impacts on our economic and national security. We should not be proceeding with measures that do not support or that diminish the viability of Ontario's rural farms. And so the ALTO route needs revision. And we need to know that plans to protect and preserve our farms will be taken seriously into account. So I thank Deputy Mayor Richardson for her leadership in this memorandum, and I'm pleased to endorse and support it.
Thank you. Councillor Joyce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I'm going to take a more of a national perspective on this. I've been in favor of high-speed rail for many years, even before I became a councillor. It's a proven mid-range way of transportation. It'll cut down a lot of air travel between Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal. Climate change, pollution saved that way. But the current proposal is in the wrong place. We have a transportation corridor already between Toronto, Ottawa, and Montreal. It's called the 401 and the 416. That's where the high-speed rail needs to be. I'm fully, Ward 4 is a rural region with full of farmers, and farmers stick together. So on behalf of Ward 4 farmers, I'm fighting this for the farmers between here and Ottawa. I want to thank Ms. Lori Reynolds. I didn't think it was possible to articulate all the negative aspects in 5 minutes, but somehow you did it. And I'm going to record that, and I'm going to be taking that, what you said, and repeating it over and over and over again. It was well done. Thank you for that. So my vote is against, or is for this memo, and fully against the current ALTO project as it stands now. Thank you.
Councillor Ashmore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I want to thank Ms. Reynolds for coming and appreciate that. And I want to thank Deputy Mayor Richardson for this memo and the seconder, Councillor Doble. This is a time-sensitive memo, and we need to have this now, and it's great that it's on the table. We talked about the cost. Just the building costs alone have been estimated to be $110 billion, and from what I've read yesterday, it'll be an estimated $60 billion just to maintain this infrastructure. So that's over the next 50 years. And as we've mentioned before, several people have said here, and I certainly agree, it's in the wrong location. And we have the 401 corridor along Lake Ontario, St. Lawrence Seaway into Quebec, and that is the most appropriate place to put this. About 10 years ago, at a Woodstock Farm Show, the Southwestern Ontario high-speed rail was 10 years ago was threatened on people in Southwestern Ontario, and it would be good to for the people here to contact those. I don't have their contact, but they stopped it. And whatever they did a phenomenal job to stop that high-speed rail that was going to cut through so much farmland in southwestern Ontario from Toronto to Windsor. We could talk about the Expropriations Act. I just wanted to read something here that out of Bill C-15. This was I read this was a Senate by a person named Diane Gear, a concerned citizen. I don't know Diane, but she was at the Senate hearing, and it says here, the modifications for the Expropriation Act, Bill C-15. Bill C-15 proposes significant amendments to the Expropriation Act to expedite land acquisition, the ALTO Toronto Quebec City high-speed rail project. Bill C-15 allows the Crown/ALTO to skip the mandatory attempt to negotiate a purchase and moves directly to the notice of intention to expropriate. So it just cuts to the chase and gets right to the expropriation without consultation. Bill C-15 also removes the opportunity for property owners to request a hearing of necessity for expropriations related to the ALTA high-speed rail project, and the ALTA high-speed rail presents serious concerns about the scale of the disruption this project could cause. Many of the residents of the rural communities within the ALTO high-speed rail study corridors are only in the past few weeks beginning to digest the limited information provided by the proponent and the devastating life-changing impacts on this project on families, farms, communities, and the environment. So just to give you a bit of an example about expropriation, my family, my brother, my late brother, his land was expropriated by the federal government at the Trenton JT F2 project, which is basically hasn't even gone through yet. And his neighbor, Frank Meyer, who farmed in the 1700s, so that's 200 and some acres was expropriated, and I really don't want to see people go through, certainly people here and everybody along this corridor to go through this, because it is really a stressful time for people to go through. When you look at the Pickering Airport and Mirabel, I don't even know if Mirabel Airport is still operational, but they're prime examples of how expropriation went so wrong. And just to wrap up here, talk about nation-building projects. Your nation is rich because of food, water, and energy, and we need to get major projects like the Energy East pipeline done. That's a project that needs to be done, and now we're proposing spending $150 billion on this. As mentioned, we need GO Transit from Lindsay to the GTA, to Bowmanville, or Lindsay right to Toronto. We need that GO Transit bus here, and also via rail. So, I think this is a timely motion, timely memo, and I'm sure we're all gonna support it here. Well, let's hope that the government will listen, because I really don't want to see people go through this, and we need to support the people who are affected by this corridor, and they're right here in the city of Kawartha Lakes, and I certainly support it. Thank you. Support the motion, the memo. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Warren.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and I too will support the memo for all the various reasons it's been on the floor, and I would support it. I like the idea that it's in the wrong place. It needs to be in the 401 corridor. It makes sense. But we've been waiting also for local transit, as Councillor Doble has said, for many, many years, and expanding Highway 35. That's been on the books for a long time. So we'll see what happens, but I want to thank Lori for coming out and explaining as it currently stands would be really good to have frequency. Thank you.
Thank you. No more speakers, so do you want to sum up?
I will through you. Thank you to the council today and your comments, and I hear support around the table. yeah, this is something that's not great for our community. We have to think differently. We have to support our residents, our agricultural community. We all, we said, we all are not opposing progress. It's just not in the right location. So, and again, thanks to the gallery from Ambers Township for coming today. We appreciate your support. Thank you for all the calls I've received. Honestly, I just feel like this is something that needs to be done. There's teeth in this, and I'd just like to see it passed today. So thank you.
Thank you. All in favor? And that's passed. Thank you all very much for coming today. You're welcome to stay. The rest of the council is riveting, and we'll just give the folks a few minutes to file out. Next up on our agenda is the Economic Impact Assessment for Ampere. We have Ryan Oliver, Chief Executive Officer. Welcome.
Thank you. Do I have the remote for clicking?
Hang on, somebody will get you something.
Perfect. Thanks very much. Perfect, thank you.
Okay,
Excellent.
Whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Council, for having me. My name is Ryan Oliver. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Ampere. This is an organization founded as Pingwak. We have been in the Kawartha Lake since 2014. It's an organization I founded in Pangnirtung, Nunavut, where I spent 10 years. And offhandedly in a conversation about 6 months ago, some people from economic development and some local business leaders, happened to mention that they weren't sure about the impact that we as an organization had in this community. And so we wanted to take a moment and celebrate that fact. We brought in Nordicity, who recently finished, I believe, a strategic plan with the City of Kawartha Lakes Library, to complete an economic impact assessment of the impact of our organization in this community, and I wanted just to take a moment and share that with you. So our organization, for those that don't know, I founded in 2011 in Pangnirtung, Nunavut, like I said, with the goal of bringing opportunities in STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, to Nunavut at the time. In 2014, when I moved back to this area, expanded that as a national mission. We now bring STEAM opportunities across Canada to rural, remote, and Indigenous communities with a headquarters here in Lindsay, as well as in Iqaluit, Nunavut, where we have 130 employees, and this year merged with, 2025, I guess. So last year merged with Canada Learning Code, the largest coding organization in Canada. And so Lindsay serves as one of the headquarters for what we do. We do app development, we do game development, but most importantly, we train kids and adults on the skills needed for the jobs of tomorrow. Right now, that's artificial intelligence. That it's a lot of things like that. It's the trades. In the next year, you'll see us open another makerspace in Woodville, Ontario, as well as our makerspace here in Lindsay. And so, at the end of the day, what this organization does. We employ 60 people in this community alone. Our wages are 26% higher than the average wage in the City of Kawartha Lakes, 5% higher than the average wage across Ontario. So these are really good, well-paying jobs here in the City of Kawartha Lakes, but we operate as a nonprofit. And one of the reasons I want to present this is because one of the biggest pieces of feedback I often hear is that you can see the success of our work from our big building downtown. But what most people understand with a nonprofit is every April 1st, our budget's reset. And we are back to zero. We are back to a risk of losing all of this impact that I'm about to share. And so constant partnerships, constant understanding from the communities we serve is an important part of what we do. And so what the results of this impact have shown us is that since 2021, Ampere has put $20 million towards the GDP of this community and created 239 full-time equivalent positions, generating $6.7 million in tax revenue for this community. For Ontario, the numbers are 28 million, 304 full-time equivalent jobs, and 9 million in tax revenue for the province itself. And so that's the direct economic impact of our role in this community. We have a $20 million local economic footprint, of which 16 million is direct income to our staff base here in the community. So of the work we do across Ontario, no matter where it is, we have maker spaces and offices in Peterborough, in Lakefield, in Curve Lake First Nation. 75% of the work we do directly impacts this community. And from that ongoing operations, 15 million of the work we do is direct impact from the operations of that headquarters here in the city of Kawartha Lakes, which I'm very proud of and is a really nice piece. It ties into a lot of the vital signs impacts that the city is hoping over the coming years. Once we submit this report into record, I won't read it to you, but a lot of those ties are built there. Capital investment is obviously biggest in the city of Kawartha Lakes, in Lindsay specifically with our building on Peel and William Street. In the last 2 years, we've invested minimum 2.3 million. We are investing another 2 million this year in 2026 towards that building, towards the makerspace, which we are training thousands of youth and adults in skills through our school programs, through our training programs for job seekers as well. And it created an equivalent to 30 full-time equivalent jobs. In the past couple of years, we've worked primarily with O'Neill and Carroll out of Downeyville as our contractors, and Homes by Tim and Chris as our designers out of Fountain Falls. Years ago, the government came to me when I was still in Nunavut and said, your organization reaches the communities we have the hardest time reaching. It's really easy for the government to serve downtown Toronto. That's where big populations are. The big numbers happen that way. But they always come to us to help them reach the communities that have the hardest time reaching. In the past 5 years, we have put 1.1 million directly into this community through grant programs the government entrusts us to run. There have been, that is programs like Digital Skills for Youth, Opportunities for People with Disabilities. These are all federal programs, as well as provincial programs like the Skills Development Program that we've been able to, because of the presence of headquarters here, directly fund operations and as a result, local businesses here in the Kawartha Lakes. And we regularly host all of our all-staffs here. As a result, we draw a lot of tourism in. We have contributed $2.5 million towards tourism. I think 2.4 million of that goes to the Days Inn for hotels. Towards people attending our workshops, attending our events. When we host national events, they are often held here just because we have the space to host everyone. 17,000 people have attended Ampere's events and workshops in the last 5 years. And that draws a lot of people here. Just as an offhanded piece, anecdotal evidence, we've moved multiple families to this area as well. When I was standing up here 4 years ago introducing the plans for the building that we ultimately built, I mentioned that my family was moved here by TS Manufacturing. We came here when I was 5 years old and have been here ever since. This organization has been able to do that with a lot of families who've moved here as a result of the organization that we run here. It's a really important part of what we do, but again, as a nonprofit, we're at constant ebb and flow of where the government goes. We are not defense contractors, so this coming year is a little lighter for us as an organization. But recently, through 2 weeks ago, I think, we hosted an event called In Steam. Just to give you an example of some of the events that we host. Over 100 girls from grades 10 to 12 from the area came to our space in order to meet guest speakers, participate in various workshops, and build entrepreneurial skills around science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, and be able to say to people growing up in small communities, like, you belong in this industry. This industry belongs in your community, and you belong in this industry. You do not have to move to Toronto to have opportunities in technology. You don't have to move to San Francisco. That you can do that in your community, and that's an example of a local event that we ran. Of course, I've mentioned the building a few times. Like I said, we have 60 employees employed in that building right now. We have a makerspace, 3 makerspaces on the lowest floor. We recently named our 3rd makerspace after Rob Mathers, a longtime teacher who taught me computer science in high school. So we have now the Mathers Room. And these are spaces where, until March 31st of 2026, we could host schools on a regular basis. We could host at no cost. But all the federal programs have dried up as of April 1st. And so now access to our space is going to become contingent on the ability of a school or a local community to be a program to pay for that. And that's kind of the next hurdle we have. Going into 2026 fiscal year, which is now, we're on day 7 of, 0.6% of my entire budget was raised for youth programming. And so our ability to continue to serve youth, what we are constantly aiming to do is make sure we can serve those who need us the most. And that includes youth who want access to these same opportunities that we can do. The City of Kawartha Lakes, though, has supported us in the last year. Through the Chest Fund, we received $75,000. We're going to be building an accessible kitchen in our main makerspace this coming year. For those that may remember when Loblaws used to have a kitchen upstairs that everyone could access, it was a very popular spot for birthday parties. This is something we're seeing as an opportunity there to provide an opportunity just to do what we do best as an organization, is to get hands-on. Whether that's cooking, whether that is with technology, all those things, bringing them together in a single spot. So we're really grateful for that support in the last year. The government of Ontario also kicked in $125,000, so we're going to be able to build an incredible kitchen that's going to be able to train a lot of really neat skills, both for youth and for adults. We have a full slate of summer programming coming up. Minecraft camp, junior science camp, all these built out of our makerspace where we can run regular summer camp programming. We run it all summer. And most exciting to me, a couple years ago, one of my best grant writers had a baby and had to quit her job because there was no daycare for her. And I have lost 3 employees in the last couple of years because of the lack of daycare, especially for babies. People that have had to leave the workforce and make do working from home, often leave us entirely. So we just finished an agreement with St. Andrew's Church across the road from us, and we'll be turning St. Andrew's Hall, the top level, into a daycare. That right now, how many spots do we think we got? 28? 32. So we will have 32 new daycare spots that we're aiming to open for September 1st. That will, just be a small dent. I know the Boys and Girls Club is adding another 50 spaces as well. So, thanks to hopefully, eventually the $10 daycare program. These are things that we're able to put together towards that. So, these types of things will help us maintain our staff base. It'll help us be able to balance. The other thing it allows us to do is allow clients to come for workshops. One of the biggest barriers for someone who is looking for work to be able to build the skills to be able to find a job is to have a place to send their kids during the day when they go out to get those skills, to get those resume workshop or anything else. And now we can offer that to our clients as well. That, I believe, is the end of that presentation. And so, I wanted to take a moment just to kind of celebrate, what the impact of this organization is in this community. There isn't an ask necessarily. I think this is just an FYI campaign more than anything. We continue to be committed to growing in this community, to continue to build in this community, and we're grateful for all the support we have had to date and looking forward to what we do next. So thank you very much.
Thank you. If you just stay there for a few minutes, I think there's a couple of questions and comments. Councillor Warren.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for coming. I remember when you first came to council, and I was so excited. I went, oh my goodness, this is going to be amazing, and it is.
Thank you so
I
much.
mean, I've been to many events, and the last event, the Young Women's event, that was amazing. You're a real asset
Thank you
to
so
our
much.
community, and please don't go anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it.
Deputy Mayor Richards.
Thank you, and through you, yes, echoing the same sentiments, and thank you very much for the FYI campaign today. What you have done is incredible. The space is just so cutting edge innovation. It's just unbelievable, and to be able to have that asset in our community, and to be able to have our children, our teenagers, our youth all coming and using that facility is phenomenal. When you guys are looking, so my question is, obviously recognizing we don't want you to go anywhere, do you have like some long-term strategies that you're putting into place right now so that stays the course for you folks?
Yeah, I think our biggest approach to make sure we are not eternally reliant on grants, because it's a suicidal way to operate a nonprofit ultimately, but it's often the way we're expected to operate, right? Is we run a social enterprise. And what that means is at any point, our teams can be brought in to help build a website, to build curriculum. We're doing a lot of curriculum work right now for both the government of Ontario and the government of Nunavut, because we have curriculum writers that have built school-ready curriculum. We can build apps, we can build games. A game we're building right now is with the Winnipeg Art Gallery to showcase their entire Inuit art collection through interactivity. And all these things we build the same way any other agency would, but the big difference is that we bring that opportunity into the makerspaces we run. And so we have 13 makerspaces across Canada right now, from Bathurst, New Brunswick, to here in Lindsay, to the furthest reaches of the north. And we bring in those youth and sometimes the young adults and give them their first chance to work on a project for a client. And what that does is the revenue ultimately supports the organization as a whole. It gives opportunities to the youth and the young adults that are a part of us. It gives the young adults and the youth a first portfolio, a first chance to work with a real client, and ultimately allows the clients to receive something that's built by the community that they are trying to serve. And so that is something for us where it can be more than us coming and seeking handouts. It is often about just get us on board and let us let the community build the tools you need. And that's done through what we call the Ampere agency. And it's a great way to support kind of what we do. We are anticipating this year that 50% of our total revenue will come from sources outside of grants. Which is a first for us. Last year, we were 85% of our revenue was relying on grants. The year before that, 90%. And we've been trying to hit that 50% point for a really long time. And the federal government cutting most of the programs has really helped us get there. And so there's that. We also operate as a charity, the Pingwalk Foundation, which is a charity for donation. But there's all those kind of different pieces. The way my head of sustainable funding often describes it is kind of like there's a lot of ebbs and flows in funding no matter what, whether it's a charity, a grant, or even a business trying to sell apps and games. But when you put all three of those on top of each other, we hopefully hit a bumpy road as opposed to big drops. And so we've been really fortunate in a time when a lot of our peers and competitors in kind of the industry to teach coding and all those pieces have gone out of business. Another one went out last week, unfortunately, out of Toronto. We have been able to minimize our layoffs and minimize the impact because we have that balance. Unfortunately, what that often means is we have to lean on those with the money to afford it, and right now we're going through a tough year, and so, but we've been able to maintain our staff base. We started 2025-26 fiscal year with 80 staff, and we're up to 130. So we continue to grow, but it's always going to be a fight, and so there's a lot to it. But yeah, appreciate it.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, through you. Thanks a lot, Ryan, today. It was
Yeah, my pleasure.
pretty special. It's a great place. I had the opportunity I was there for the STEM and listened to the guest speakers, which I thought were very impressive. And to see those 100 young girls there just come along, and your guest speakers really hit it, like, and especially the one that talked about everyone has a story.
Yeah.
You know, we all have a story, and things like that really resided with me, because your story is about leaving for your children, your grandkids, and so on, because we all have a story.
Yeah.
And I thought the guest speakers were really good, but you've done a great job with that building, and good luck in the future.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate it. We often try to operate off an Indigenous principle of 7 generations, and it's the idea that whatever we do today needs to think 7 generations ahead. And I mean, the rail discussion today has been an interesting one to balance that with too, right? That thought process. But for us, that's the idea of, like, it's, we need to get through this year, we need to get through this decade, but also ideally 7 generations down the road, we've created an impact that really, like, helps shape this community in a way that's really valuable. Appreciate that.
Thank you. I just have one question. I was very interested in your comment about creating childcare spaces, and I assume you've been talking to our human services people about that, and I know that, for instance, the Boys and Girls Club are adding a bunch this year, which we have Manager Corley would know better than I, but I think we had something like a 4-year wait list. Yeah. And with what you're doing and with what the Boys and Girls Club's doing, it must impact our wait list to some extent. I'm wondering if you would speculate.
I'm probably not the expert with regards to some of the childcare pieces, but certainly, recalling some of the recent reports, yes, we're sitting around a 3 to 4 year wait list, if I recall correctly. So certainly these additional spaces will tremendously help. So certainly looking forward to having them come online, and we certainly understand too there's some available funding, I guess, from the province, and through probably the partnership with the federal government for additional spaces right now, and it's a pretty short timeline. So if we can find those groups who can get those additional spaces in place according to the timelines and the funding on the table, that's all the better as well.
Yeah, we've had great conversations and have access to those as well. I think, like, I have 3 kids, including a newborn who's a 1.5 years old now, so I get to experience the wait list firsthand. It's often the joke is the first person you tell you're pregnant before you even tell your partner is the daycare waiting list, because that buys you that many more weeks ahead. It is something I know my colleague Zach here has been working on extensively with your community, and that's worked really well. I know there is an interest in we've heard from the city that there's an interest in daycare spaces outside of Lindsay specifically. I think, like, in terms of available space for us and proximity to our existing workspace, my hope is that we can be a part of that solution in the long term. And lastly, our relationship with the Boys and Girls Club, or the BGC now, has continued to grow. We've just signed an agreement with them. We're going to join them in their expansion in Peterborough next. As they have just leased a space in Peterborough, we're going to be installing a makerspace there, as well as creating office space there for our staff that ultimately serve the Kawartha Lakes, but it'll be better based out of there, and that's going to be very neat, as well as kind of as a Lindsay headquartered couple of organizations start to move into the big city. It'll be great.
Well, thank you very much for coming today, and thank you for what you do. You're doing a lot of exciting stuff, and just keep it up.
Thanks, appreciate it.
We love having you here.
Thanks so much.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone. Yep.
Thank you. So I need a mover and seconder, Councillor McDonald and Councillor Doval. Any comments or questions? All in favor? And that's passed.
Thank you.
Moving on, we have the Kawartha Lakes Agricultural and Food Action Plan 2026 to 2030, and we have our own Kelly Maloney here to tell us about this. Whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council members. Thank you. I am very pleased to be here with you today to present the Kawartha Lakes Agriculture and Food Action Plan for 2026 to 2030. 1 year ago this week, you may recall, I was here with you and presented the report on the previous action plan. And so background work and analysis began directly after that meeting and did take a backseat during the growing season. But the public and industry consultation geared up, and through this past winter, we did the bulk of the development and engagement of the plan. So I'm here with you today to present this new plan to guide the sector and the growth for the next 5 years. So agriculture and food is, excuse me, is one of the most important sectors in our municipality. It supports over 1,100 farms and 277,000 acres of farmed land. It has a large network of agribusinesses and plays a major role in our local economy, our landscape, and our community identity. You'll see on the slide there that, in fact, I believe it was 2024, there was $216 million of annual farm cash receipts. So that's the income to the farms, and that translates into $426 million in gross domestic product for Ontario. And we do have 3,395 residents who work in the agri-food sector, which is the broad sector right through to consumption of food. The strength of the sector really does depend on more than just farming, as I've just said. It relies on the businesses and the services, the infrastructure, transportation, the policies and planning, and market access, as well as the connections between all of those parts. And for this reason, this action plan actually focuses on strengthening the entire agricultural system, not just the individual parts. The agriculture system might be a new term for some of you. It actually originated through the provincial planning statement that the province has. Now we're in PPS 2024. And it means that it's a system comprised of a group of interconnected elements that collectively create a viable and thriving agri-food sector. So it has two main components: the agricultural land, which is primarily the prime agricultural land, but also can include the rural areas that help contribute to a continuous productive agricultural land base. And the second part is an agri-food network, which includes those agricultural operations, the infrastructure, services, assets, and all of the pieces that contribute to the viability of the full agri-food sector. So this plan sets a clear direction for how we support that sector over the next 5 years. It's grounded in input from farmers, agribusiness, organizations, staff, and it focuses on the practical actions that the municipality and, most importantly, its partners and collaborators across the community to make the greatest impact. The plan was developed in 4 phases, starting with the background review to understand the current state of the sector and build on the previous work. As I mentioned, the winters focused on the engagement phase, and this included a public survey, meetings with agricultural organizations, some small group discussions to ground truth the initial information we collected, and sessions, of course, with our Agriculture Development Advisory Committee and staff in various departments. And we utilized a wisdom team, which was just a fancy name for a steering committee, but recognized the guidance that they were able to provide to the project. And overall, we heard from over 400 participants throughout the engagement process. From there, we developed the goals, objectives, and actions, and the final phase will come following this engagement with council and ideally your adoption of the new plan, but move into the implementation phase, and again, working closely with our partners and collaborators across the community, we'll delve into the very specific actions. So this action plan is strongly aligned with the existing policy and strategies that we have as umbrellas over the Agriculture and Food Action Plan. At the provincial level, we have the Provincial Planning Statement and the Municipal Act. The Provincial Planning Statement does require an agricultural systems approach of municipalities. And at the municipal level, of course, we have our official plan that recognizes agriculture as a key economic sector and supports long-term farmland protection and food as a protection and industry growth. This work aligns directly with the Kawartha Lakes strategic plan and the economic development strategy, which identify agriculture and food as a priority sector. And importantly, Kawartha Lakes is considered a high-capacity community for agricultural economic development with a 25-year history of having the role that I sit in as an economic development and officer for agriculture, but also a long history of leadership and support of the sector. And the high capacity label actually comes from the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs, and their assessment of communities at either a low, medium, or high level. And the key there is a full-time staff equivalent and a budget for economic development work in agriculture. So as I mentioned, we did have the public survey. We held 2 public information meetings where we had input provided. There was 11 agricultural association meetings, many of them being annual general meetings where we presented and got feedback, and another 6 or 7 small group discussions with staff and different groups working, agencies and organizations working in the community, as well as a couple of meetings with our wisdom team. I'd really like to just take a second to thank the groups that we did meet with, because this list in itself really identifies the key strength of the agriculture system, that it's supported by so many individuals working in organizations to help the growth. So the Victoria Beef Farmers, the Kawartha Halliburton Maple Syrup Producers Association, the District 12 Grain Farmers of Ontario, the Kawartha Lakes Halliburton Federation of Agriculture, Victoria Soil and Crop Improvement Association, Dairy Farmers of Kawartha Lakes, the Workforce Development Board, Victoria County Career Services, St. Thomas Aquinas Secondary School High Skills Major Program, and the same program at IE Weldon Secondary School. We met with food processors in Kawartha Lakes, Kawartha Conservation, Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Agribusiness, Ministry of Rural Affairs, the Agriculture Development Advisory Committee, and then the internal teams. I really appreciate the support and all the work that they do for the sector. And we met with Public Works, Engineering, Realty Services, Communications, Municipal Law Enforcement, Building and Septic, and of course the Economic Development team. So thank you to them all. And there might be a test on that list later. So what we did here, this presentation does summarize that collected input and really help to form the feedback that drives the development of this plan. So the agriculture sector in Kawartha Lakes is widely seen as resilient and diverse and deeply rooted in family farming. Participants in the engagement described a strong tradition of multi-generational farms, a willingness to adapt to changing markets, weather, and regulations, and the mix of livestock, crops, specialty agriculture, and maple syrup was identified as a key strength, supported by a well-developed network of local suppliers and agribusiness services. Protection of agricultural land emerged as one of the most significant priorities across the survey. There was a concern expressed about the ongoing pressure of residential development on productive farmland, real estate sales to non-farming landowners, and many participants emphasized the need for implementation of clear and contemporary land use policies with modernized definitions and clarifying agricultural uses and opportunities for growth that would minimize the fragmentation of farmland and ensure that agriculture remains a viable land use over the long term. The importance of the agriculture support network was also emphasized. Local businesses such as equipment dealers, feed suppliers, service providers, and many more make it easier for farms to grow and to operate in the community. The network is seen as a major advantage for Kawartha Lakes and is a key part of the broader agricultural system. Participants also pointed to gaps in the local agri-food value chain. Most specifically, their concern was in the local processing capacity for meat, and we've seen a decline in the number of abattoirs over recent years to the point where there's concern about risk for the future. And so attraction of food processing and other businesses you'll see comes later in our review as a specific point. So strengthening that local processing and distribution would allow more products to be handled locally and increase the economic returns that would stay within the community. Regulatory and municipal processes were another common concern, and participants described challenges in managing their way through zoning bylaw amendments or permitting processes and the timelines that go with them. And so these issues can limit farm expansion or business expansion, diversification, and hinder investment. Businesses that invest time in undertaking the regulatory and land use processes and the associated legislated timelines, they can, if we can address those, that can enable businesses to respond as markets and technologies change. Workforce development was also identified as another important issue. Participants highlight the need for expanded agricultural education and skills development opportunities. Participants also emphasized the importance of supporting farm succession and attracting the next generation of farmers and agricultural workers to the sector. The access to skilled labor and the pathways for new entrants to join the sector were seen as essential for long-term sustainability. Agricultural land stewardship remains to be a shared priority. The farmers are managing increased pressures from extreme weather, changing seasons, and the environmental expectations. Participants really had a strong interest in the practices that support soil health improvement, water management, and long-term sustainability. This work really ties in with the Common Ground report on soil health that Council had in front of them in March and supported, and so the opportunities for innovation, diversification, and whatnot do come into the agricultural land stewardship realm as strongly as other areas. So at the same time, there's optimism for the future. Many participants saw opportunities to grow through the innovation and diversification, agritourism, value-added processes, and adopting new technologies. With the right supports in place, there's a strong interest for expansion and evolving farm businesses. There's also strong notes about the value of the agriculture sector within the community, and then it can be better understood by the broader community with additional awareness and promotion of local food access and the stronger regional identity that agriculture can have. While the outlook is positive, the participants identified that risks of loss of farmland, rising costs, market uncertainties, labor shortages, and regulatory burden, along with climate pressures, are certainly concerning. But together, these factors can be addressed. They can assist in decisions about expansion and investment by individual businesses wanting to modernize their operations. So the input gathered through the engagement confirms that agriculture and food remain a strong and essential part of the Kawartha Lakes economy, supported by a diverse production base and well-established network of businesses and services. So if we focus our next 5 years on protecting farmland, strengthening the value chain, improving our processes, supporting workforce development, and enabling innovation, we will have a strong future. From the sentiments that we just reviewed from the engagement process, we developed the vision for the future. And that is that Kawartha Lakes is a place where agriculture and food businesses can invest, transition, and grow with confidence, supported by protected farmland, modern infrastructure, predicted rules, and strong local value chains that sustain farms today and will enable the next generation tomorrow. The plan also identifies clear outcomes. We expect to see increased investment and business confidence, supported by clearer and more predictable processes. We expect stronger and more diversified agribusinesses with value-added production happening locally. We expect a more reliable and skilled workforce pipeline. We expect farmland to be protected and infrastructure to be better supporting agricultural operations. And we expect the sector to be more recognized, coordinated, and supported across the municipality and with its partners. So these outcomes provide a clear way to measure success. The goals to achieve this vision and the desired outcomes are organized in 5 points. First, enabling agribusiness growth and investment. Second, supporting business development and value-added growth. Third, building a skilled and sustainable workforce. Fourth, investing in places that support agriculture, including land and infrastructure. And fifth, elevating and supporting the agriculture and food sector through coordination and promotion. These goals reflect what we heard through the engagement and where action will have the greatest impact, and are also well aligned with the strategic priorities of the economic development strategy. If you're having a look at the plan itself, on page 17 is where the goals section begins. And I just wanted to point out that the structure for each goal, we identify why it's important, and then move through the objectives and some suggested actions. In goal 1, enabling agribusiness growth and investment, Kawartha Lakes has a rich history of agriculture and food. It's a powerhouse in East Central Ontario as for agribusiness, those support and supplies businesses. The sector is profiled by a diverse mix of operations and a strong network of agriculture suppliers and service providers, and supporting new investment in the agriculture system can further strengthen the local industry and help existing businesses to access new opportunities, new markets, and reduce the need to leave the community to access those inputs or services. It's a sector that is ready to grow, but complex processes and supports that can negatively impact those decisions can either slow or stop their investment. So creating a business-focused environment helps reduce the risk and speed up projects by those businesses and attract new investment while supporting the existing operators. Businesses can invest and expand and diversify with support, and that strengthens the economy and builds resilience in the sector. And it also positions Kawartha Lakes as a competitive place to do business. The objectives on the screen there identify areas that we will undertake actions such as a specific action, investment attraction plan for food processing, incorporation of those provincial land use policies in the planning area, developing toolkits and guidelines to help explain the processes and improve understanding of the studies and various work that would need to be undertaken by applicants. It was clear that there was better understanding needed, especially as farm operators tend to like to be their own general contractors. So improving from the outset the awareness of the processes and understanding of what they were going to be undertaking by making applications will improve the success and shorter timelines for those applicants. And a promotion of Kawartha Lakes as a hub for agribusiness, supporting those farms in the East Central area will help to improve the awareness of the agriculture system in Kawartha Lakes. The second goal around supporting business development, we take that recognition of the many local agribusinesses that rely on selling their raw products and recognize that if they're only selling their raw product, that could be limiting. So providing the opportunities for value-added processing, for on-farm diversification, keeps more value in the community, creates more jobs, and improves businesses. So providing direct support to businesses through our economic development office helps to support business growth, diversification, and stronger supply chains. So the actions undertaken within the objectives for Goal 2 would include support for attracting food processing, facilitating the linkages between the producers, distributors, retail restaurant, and those processors. Supporting individual businesses by providing consultations, workshops, and the policies and regulations that allow for on-farm diversification, agritourism, and really providing them better awareness of the fact that we do have a first point of contact for them specific to agriculture within my role, and help to direct them to the departments or staff that they best can get help from. The skills development or training and workshops that were identified would be in the areas of business skill development, succession planning, market development, and soil health, as we mentioned earlier. But also continuing our programs, the legacy programs, I guess we can call them now, they're in their 23rd year, but the Kawartha Choice Farm Fresh program and Kawartha Farm Fest both offer opportunities for businesses to grow their markets and reach more customers. As a business development program, they help to bring more revenues to those businesses. But also things like data management and participating in the Connect On program, which provides us an opportunity to track the sector and its growth. The third goal is around building that skilled and sustainable workforce. Labor shortages, as I mentioned, were one of the most immediate barriers for business growth in the agri-food sector. And so that affects their productivity, their ability to expand, and their long-term viability. So building a stronger workforce pipeline through training, partnerships, and alignment with employers and workers through our workforce agencies will help them find and retain the talent they need. But also we need to attract the youth, and so increasing awareness of agriculture career opportunities and working with our school systems to attract the next generation of business owners and employees will help to sustain the long-term nature of the sector. In the objectives of the third goal, we see actions that would be potentially developing a agri-food workforce strategy and roundtable where the partners could sit together to address the gaps that we've mentioned, increasing the awareness, as I mentioned, of the agriculture careers, and supporting that workforce attraction through local immigration and workforce development initiatives, as well as training potentially in job readiness and developing agriculture skills. The fourth goal in investing in places that support agriculture, agricultural businesses. This really does depend on access to land. So protecting the land itself with the provincial policies and regulations helps to improve that long-term protection of farmland that we see in our strategic plan and economic development strategy. Supporting agricultural land stewardship and improving that soil health by investing in workshops and training and access that's not just at the municipal level, but with our agricultural organizations in the community, attracting speakers, as well as private business also puts on extensive workshops to support those adopting new and innovative technologies and practices. And this is really where the strength of this action plan comes in, is where we all work together. Some of the other infrastructure, because infrastructure is a very broad word and encompasses a lot really in this program, but it includes everything from investment in roads, maintenance of roads and investment in new bridges, maintaining support for our drainage systems. But the one that came through most strongly in the consultation was the cellular network, as well as broadband, but this round it actually flipped. Cellular access was one of the bigger concerns, and whether or not it was actually potentially declining in service quality across the sector. So that impact every consultation that we did, it was mentioned as a declining service. So not sure we can do anything directly at the municipal level, but that's a partner approach potentially. So safeguarding those pieces of infrastructure allow the sector to grow and develop over the long term, and really does maintain that the the confidence by the business owner. Some of those actions, incorporating those provincial policies into our next new official plan, and our zoning bylaws for on-farm diversified uses and agriculture-related uses. The continued partnerships with our agricultural land stewardship programs at the Victoria Soil and Crop Improvement Association, Kawartha Conservation, and seeing our climate change strategy developed and implemented. All of those contribute to the collective work in improving and maintaining our agricultural land. The fifth goal and final goal there is to strengthen leadership, coordination, and sector profile. So strong leadership and coordination is essential to turning this plan into real measurable results. Without dedicated capacity and clear alignment across our partners, the opportunities can be missed and progress can be slowed. Investing in coordination, resources, and sector promotion ensures consistent support for businesses and strengthens partnerships and positions Kawartha Lakes as a leader in agriculture and food. So some of the actions we'll see there is to continue to engage with our agricultural organizations and foster that relationship between them through the Agriculture Network of Kawartha Lakes, maintain our Agricultural Advisory Committee, which is a key conduit between the agriculture sector businesses and council, as well as the Economic Development Department. Continuing the VIP agricultural tour continues to offer the exposure to the farm and agribusiness sector for members of council and staff to understand modern agriculture and to build relationships on a one-on-one basis. It also capacity to support the structure through staff and partners and collaboration, as well as seeking external funding, is the resource support that the sector can benefit from. Raising awareness of the sector to consumers comes through those legacy programs that I mentioned in the Kawartha Farm Fest tour and the Kawartha Choice Farm Fresh program. It's a way for them to connect with farms and agriculture of today. But the biggest promotion that we need to undertake is to talk more about Kawartha Lakes and the Lindsay area specifically as being a center for agriculture in the whole East Central region. We don't talk about that enough, and we should do more. It's recognized outside of our area as a key strength. So in conclusion, really there is a strong and resilient agricultural base in Kawartha Lakes. It's supported by a diverse mix of farms, a well-developed network of agribusiness services, and at the same time, there's clear pressures. Farmland is under increasing development pressure. There's a need to strengthen the local food processing as an opportunity, and the importance of agricultural land stewardship, soil health, and managing impacts from changing climate. Businesses face challenges navigating the systems that are in place, and workforce shortages are ongoing, and there's a need for strong infrastructure to support the operations. Despite this, that optimism really does ring true, and it is very strong within the sector. Many businesses are ready to invest, grow, and diversify if the right conditions are in place. So thank you very much for your time. I know for me, it's been a very enjoyable, especially the last 4 months of direct engagement with our partners and businesses in the community, and I am pleased to present this to you.
Thank you. I have a whole lineup of people who want to comment or ask questions. But first, can I have a motion to receive? Councillor Joyce, Councillor Ashmore. Councillor Doble.
Thank you for the presentation, Kelly. I spent quite a bit of time this weekend studying the report. A lot of very interesting and useful information in the document. I particularly appreciate the vision statement. I noted some interesting stat, 3,400 jobs in the city of Kawartha Lakes supported by local agriculture. And I went and checked on the internet, and that represents over 10% of our city's workforce, as reported in the 2021 census, and that's significant. I'm happy to see the growth of agritourism in the city, providing diversity of farm income, promoting Kawartha Lakes as a tourism destination, and of course, enhancing overall awareness. 2 questions. I was also pleased to see the recommendation to attract food processing industry to our area. And I'm wondering, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I'm wondering if you can speak to what specific work our economic development team is doing in this regard.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor. Thank you for the question. The business attraction portfolio really resides with my colleague, Lindsay Schoenmakers, our economic development officer for business, and I know she has been working this winter on a foreign direct investment strategy that will be implemented over the next couple of years. And food processing was highlighted as one of the 2 main targets there. So that her efforts are squarely in that area. I do support that when it comes to the alignment with the agricultural system, but she is the main lead there. And it really comes down to having the available spaces that are supported by the right infrastructure needed by food processors.
Thank you for that. I'm pleased with that. I note that 19% of our farmers sell directly through farm gates, farmers markets, pick your own operations, and community supported agriculture. And I am wondering if there is further opportunity to increase this percentage and what the city might do in terms of community support to facilitate.
Again, through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you for that question. We have one of the longest standing programs in Ontario through, the 2 programs, but the main program to support that is the Kawartha Choice Farm Fresh program. It provides a directed page within a website platform for consumers to find those businesses that are offering direct to consumer products. But it also comes through the training and workshops that we provide those businesses. It might be on how to do their own direct marketing, and their even right down to details like how to create a label that's appropriate, matching the regulations, and just giving them the ability to grow and expand. We did a program in the last couple of years, partnered with our counterparts to the east in Peterborough County and City on developing a wholesale market system. So creating those linkages, there's further work to be done as next steps, but it coached the producers on how to expand their production, but also there was the buyer side coaching as well on how to purchase directly from farms. It's not the same as calling up one of the large distributors, but incorporating those local foods into their portfolio of food offerings. Consumers are looking for local food, so we can assist by facilitating those connections and linkages.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Richard.
Thank you, and through you. Great presentation, a lot of information, and really fleshing out the goals and objectives. And also really great to hear the engagement that you had to put into this report. I'm just wondering, what would you consider the top priority actions, say, in the first 1 or 2 years coming out?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the question. I do think that it is on our horizon already, and so many of these actions that we looked at today and the opportunities, they were already, they were identified in the small group meetings that we have done with internal departments and other organizations and agencies. But I think one of the biggest opportunities for us will come in our new official plan when we have the opportunity to incorporate the provincial planning system policies that the province has in place to specifically to enable agriculture system businesses to grow and expand. So those new definitions for agriculture that include agriculture-related businesses, on-farm diversified uses. We have a number of businesses in the community that are anxious to undertake on-farm diversification and take those next steps to help promote or to grow their business and attract more growth across the system with agriculture-related businesses. So I think that's going to be a key benefit for us and a big step. It's been a long time coming, so that's good.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, through you. Thanks, Kelly. We had the opportunity to talk the other day, and there's a couple areas that we did talk about, and one was processing and so far, and had the opportunity to work on kill floor as a butcher and stuff as a kid, but it's one of those trades that really aren't very popular right now. You don't see too many people getting involved with that, so it'd be interesting to see how we can convince people that's a good trade, and it's hard work, but it's a good trade. So good luck on trying to convince people to do that, because I can remember we used to have 5 in this area, and I think we're only down to 2 now, I think. So, which gets really expensive in the, if you have to ship your cattle and whatever out to different areas, it gets expensive to do that. So that'll be a challenge for sure. And we also talked about protecting farmland, and maybe you can explain how we protect the farmland. If people come in and they buy all this property and so on and want to build houses on them, then, we can protect our farmland by how we rate our farmland. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor, thank you for the question. Land use protection for farmland is really set at the provincial level and offered to municipalities to adopt those policies and regulations. I think we do have certainly restrictions on use for prime agricultural lands. I think there's an opportunity. It'll come in the discussions when we develop our new official plan. And I am not a planner, so I'm not going to give you an expert opinion, but I do look forward to what I understand will be discussions about how the community wants to protect their agricultural land. There's opportunities in those discussions that we'll have through that official plan development process for the community to potentially have its own specific needs met. We have a lot of land here in Kawartha Lakes. We've been known historically as a land of pastures. So the northern parts of the community would have extensive cattle pasturing areas, and sort of the middle lands from north to south have pockets of very productive farmland, and there's opportunities to structure how we support that and protect it. But I think it comes down to the day-to-day decisions and processes or applications that we see come before us to make those decisions.
Councillor Warren.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the presentation, and we too had a conversation, and I'm really happy you're talking about soil health, because without soil health, we really don't have much. And maybe Kawartha Lakes can be a leader in that going forward. And you also spoke about climate change. You kind of just hit on that, but you said that will be coming forward in an implementation plan. So is it a plan or just implementation?
Plan to implement climate change.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor for the question. The implementation phase is really the next step. The suggested actions that we have in the document are really still at a somewhat of a high level. Because it's a 5-year plan, each year the partners across the sector, all of those agricultural organizations, the agencies, the institutions that we will be working with in implementing these actions, each one will have their nuance to set to it what their budgets will permit on an annual basis. And the same here, our annual work plans and budgets would come forward to council with our regular budgeting process. So
thank you, because
they'll get more organic. So specific topics for workshops or training or just a little more ground truth.
So there'll be more information on climate change and soil health and all those things coming forward back to council through other reports.
That's right.
Thank
Anything
you.
specific needing budget would come back, and the climate change strategy itself is being developed, as you know, so it'll have its hopefully very closely aligned. We have strong agricultural participation in that development project, working with my colleague Jenna Stevens. So
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Ashmore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to Kelly. Thanks for the presentation. It's a lot of work involved with that, and I'm certainly proud to be part of the Agricultural Advisory Committee. We've got a great group there, and all of them have their own farms, and they take the time off to come to the meetings, and they contribute in a great way. And you get out there in the public and educating the public, and all the time, and it's just phenomenal the amount of impact that agriculture has. And with the agribusinesses, it's approaching $500 million in a few years. With everything, there's so many agribusinesses here, and I think we underappreciate what we have, and we've got such a great amount of businesses here and a tremendous amount of employment. One of the things that we, like agriculture, and you've stepped in, City Kawartha Lakes have stepped in. We used to have agricultural reps at the agricultural office, the provincial government, OMAFRA, but they don't have that anymore, which is unfortunate. So, and that's where you could go in and get your soil tests, and you could get feed tests, or you could get information. It was really good, but unfortunately, those were provincial decisions, and they closed all those offices, unfortunately, most of them anyways. But, you know, like agriculture's changed so much. I mean, it's certainly different from the 1970s, and when basically a 100-acre farm could sustain a family. And I know my mother would talk to me and my father and just chew me out and say, "Why do you farmers buy retail and sell wholesale all the time?" It's like, I don't know how you do it. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying. And then the 1980s came along, and we got caught in it, and the 24% interest rates, and it took 10 years to get over that. It was really hard. And, you know, farmers are resilient, they're entrepreneurial, and they're the hardest working people and smartest people that you would ever want to know, farm families. So just, and getting to today, there's, you know, the cost of getting into agriculture, the land, the quota, the machinery, there's also the right to repair. You know, you're either going to have, you know, older machinery and maintain it on your own, or if you buy new machinery, you have to, you know, enter into contracts to repair. You can't repair it yourself now. But that's another frustration. But the last thing I was going to ask, we used to have several agricultural colleges. We just primarily have, I think there's 2 now. But Fleming College had an agricultural program. They do have an environmental program, but do you foresee even Eastern Ontario or Central Ontario getting back those colleges? Or it's a shame that they had to, you know, close those down, because that's what really got young people into agriculture, you know, and that's the future for the young people to get into it.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the question, Councillor. I know there's a lot of work being done across on Eastern Ontario, and we would continue to work with our local college and university on future programming. There are some agribusiness programs that are currently offered closer to Ottawa, and I think keeping the dialogue open. There's certainly tough times right now for some of the educational institutions in there. They're currently working on their own solutions as well. So we definitely have that in our plan to continue the discussions, and I think working those two bright light programs at our secondary level in the high school skills major programs for agriculture helps to get those students prepared for their next steps, whether it be directly into farm businesses here in the community or to go off to programs. And yes, currently that's in Ontario, either close to Ottawa or the University of Guelph and Ridgetown campuses. But we do have great programs and want to support the youth to get into them and come back and work their businesses here.
Councillor Joyce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I've got a couple of questions and then a comment. My first question is, I really picked up on, I sense the challenges with regulatory and municipal processes. Have you been talking to planning, and are they aware? Is there ways we can smooth out the bumps? I'm putting Ms. Director Barry on the spot here, so what can we do there if it's not in process yet? Is there things we can do?
Thank you for the question through you, Mr. Mayor. We did have extensive discussions, and I do believe that this is not the first strategy or action plan where we've heard those comments from the participants. I know we saw it directly in our economic development strategy, and there's a very similarly worded action item in the economic development strategy. I know there's been significant efforts by our teams across the municipality in many different types of action or application processes to try and smooth the processes there. I did see through many of the comments that one of the biggest benefits is to help those businesses understand the processes before they enter into them. And I have met with a few of my colleagues in planning. One of the pieces that we've discussed doing is toolkits and guidelines, as well as an early contact pre-consultation type discussion. Come in, meet with us, talk about what you're planning to do. We can help you understand the processes. We can understand best what you're planning to do in your project. And then in whatever, this is an action plan to be developed. So it needs further discussion for sure. But I think that's a significant part of it. I know that there's been great improvement in the timelines and significant efforts by all. So I think we want to just look at continuing that process in the future together. When we all work together, that's got to be helpful. I don't know. I turn it over to my director if she has any other comments on that.
Kelly, I think you nailed it. Yep, really appreciate those comments. If the councillor has any follow-up questions, we'll be happy to address, but I think you really sort of hit the nail on the head with respect to some legacy administration around application and development approvals processing, and how we've seen some significant changes to those in more recent years, but certainly acknowledge the experiences of the agricultural community having gone through various development approvals, years in the past, and continued education. We have some tools in mind for that. Thanks.
No, thank you both. I think you actually had a line in there about navigating the supports. Maybe we get a chief navigator to help navigate at the get-go. I think would be a great idea. Thank you for that. My second question is, you expand on farm diversification. Do you mean expand the participation or expand the scope of? or is it both?
Thank you. And again, through you, Mr. Mayor, the specific term on-farm diversified use is a term that we find from the provincial planning statement. And it's we saw it, I think, first in the development of the rural zoning bylaw, where we were able to incorporate into that draft the a few very specific agriculturally related diversification opportunities. When we get to the update of the official and creating the new official plan, that will be able to be incorporated into the policy level. So currently, businesses wanting to undertake an on-farm diversified use will often need to do a zoning bylaw amendment, and that may still be the case for certain types of diversified uses in the future, depending on what comes in the new official plan. But there's certainly interest in that activity in the businesses that I meet with and consult with. So some of them are waiting to see it. Some processes may become as of right processes through that through the development of our new official planning and zoning bylaws. But.
Okay, thank you. On to my comment. I know we're talking about the presentation. The report's coming up next, so just to save time, I just wanted to say about the report, I'm just really impressed with the detail and the breadth of the report, and I know a lot of work went into that, so well done, and thank you. It's very impressive.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We have a motion to receive, so all in favor? And that passes. Thank you very much for coming today, and thank you for your report and your hard work. And I need a motion that the Kawartha Lakes Agricultural and Food Action Plan 2026 to 2030, substantially in the form attached as Appendix A, be approved, and that this recommendation be brought forward to council for consideration at the next regular council meeting. I have a mover and seconder, Councillor Ashmore, Deputy Mayor Richardson. All in favor? Thank you, and that's passed. Do you want to take 10 minutes, or you want to press on? 10 minutes? Okay. We'll come back at 1:45. Call the meeting back to order. Next item on the agenda is 7.4, which is the 2025 Deficit Disposition and 2026 Challenge Presentation. We have Director Bokaboom leading us in this, so whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to Council and the public. We're here today to present the public, to both Council and the public, the strategy to address the 25 financial operating results. Further detail regarding the results is forthcoming at the April 21st, 2026 Council meeting, and that report will address the detailed variance. So today is a very high level to address the deficit disposition. Finance staff reported to the Audit Committee held March 31st, 2026 regarding this 2025 Deficit Strategy Disposition Report, and direction was provided by the committee for staff to report to Council at today's Committee of the Whole meeting. Thank you for indulging us. So the agenda is to review the budget to actual spend, the 25 pressures that led to the deficit, the 2026 the 25 deficit strategy to dispose of the deficit. Pardon me, item 3 has a typo in it, that should be 25. Some work on reserve utilization, and we're going to pause for a moment and apprise of the 26 current scenarios coming to play in this year's actual reports. We're here earlier than in other years, almost by a month. And that was to share this strategy with you. And we could not do this without the thanks and concerted effort of the department heads. Special kudos to the finance team who've been working tirelessly through this year's audit, all in an effort to apprise you of the financial year end and allowing us to be here and share the results today. So thank you to all staff on this initiative. And now, I wish I had better news, but here are the results of the 2025 financial situation. The 25 budget was balanced at the zero total in the orange column in the center. And as of March 30th, with the auditors here on site doing their audit at the moment, we are at an $18.3 million deficit. There are several factors contributing to this deficit. We have been apprising Council of the shortfall in the grant funding on the ice storm for the cash outlay the city incurred. We had an unusual, unprecedented winter events throughout the entire year of 2025, causing some duress. The interest income shortfall of $1 million is directly related to the cash outlay of approximately $29 to $30 million for the storm, waiting for the grant to come in. We therefore used our own savings account in the interim, if you will. Forest fires of $2 million, that's attributed both to the summer forest fires as well as other pressures in that particular area. We had a shortfall in the supplemental taxes from that budgeted. That's directly related to the market and the slowdown in the economic growth related to tariffs and related to all across Ontario, a slowing down, if you will, in the building industry. We have been planning for the last few years at Council's support to right-size the retention and attraction for the CUPE contract, so that has an impact on the 2025 retro account. In addition to our own winter control activities, we had contracted out snow plowing in relation to parking lots, sidewalks, different components at city buildings. And again, given an unprecedented winter, that also had an impact on the operating budget. The area rate deficits in transit. This will be raised on the city's 2026 final tax bills. You'll see that tax policy coming forward on April 21st to set the tax ratios. Lindsay will be billed an additional $600,000 for its share of the area rate deficit. And OPP, communication arrived in December 2025, apprising of a reconciliation for the 2024 year end, and that additional $900,000 will impact the rural residents. We'll pause and spend a few moments on the unprecedented winter and the impact on this year's budget. The frequency and scale of winter events, as we've all witnessed and lived through, is ever increasing. The gross deficit of $18.4 million is comprised of approximately $11 million just for unforeseen weather events. So not just winter control. We had the $2.2 million for the ice storm. The $1 million in interest shortfall out of our general operations is directly attributable to the amount that we paid out cash outlay for that ice storm. We had the summer forest fires to the amount of approximately $700,000. The extreme winter events causing both higher occurrence of events and our deployment, putting pressure on the budget, netted down with the savings in summer roads, netted to $5.5 million, plus the $1.5 million for the contracted out sidewalks, parking lots, etc. City of Kawartha Lakes is most thankful to the province for coming to our aid with the ice storm and providing $25.6 million in relief for that ice storm. So had it not been for that provincial amount of money forthcoming, this would be a very different discussion we would be having today. The city's been very disciplined in previous years to maintain and grow the reserves, and the ability to address the 25 deficit would not have been possible without those reserves being built up. We also did not want to put a special levy across the city for the year 2025 or for the ice storm or these weather events. Therefore, the time is upon us to develop an adaptable reserve strategy to ensure we can respond effectively to increasingly unpredictable and severe weather events while minimizing service disruptions and financial strain. And the strategy that has taken us 4 months to get to you today is to, already approved by council, is that any deficit in an area rate is to be levied on the next year's tax bill. To fund the remainder of the operating deficit, we will use reserves to the amount of $16,849,000 to fund and balance the 2025 year end. It is important to note that while this one-time draw on the reserves of $17 million is significant, the city's overall reserve position is stable and well managed. Staff will continue to monitor reserves and incorporate strategies in future long-term financial plans and budgets to maintain this long-term resilience and strength. Council recently approved the budget and surplus deficit disposition policy in March, and this includes a strategy to have more broad-based citywide reserves with less strings attached to them to give flexibility and adaptability where we need. These reserves are in 4 main categories you'll see on the coming slides: the infrastructure reserves, the stabilization reserves, contingency reserves, and obligatory reserves. Giving us general parameters with your guidance to help manage the surpluses and deficits and have lesser restricted reserves will give us that fluidity and adaptability we need. So I won't go through each of these one by one, but the total column to be used for the 25 deficit over the next 4 slides accumulates to the almost $17 million that is being used to fund the 2025 deficit. I will pause to note that strategically, of the almost $17 million used for reserves, the city recently closed projects in Q3 of 2025 and Q4 of 2025. And again, cannot thank all staff enough for helping us do that review. We returned $5 million to the reserves, knowing that this deficit was coming. And so we strategically undertook that exercise to help fund this deficit. And again, on April 21st, a motion will come forward, a recommendation seeking your approval to use these reserves to fund the 25 operations. Perhaps I'll stop there, Mr. Mayor, for any questions before we get into the 26 budget pressures, if you will.
Councillor Joyce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you and to Director Bukaboom. Yes, reserves are there for the rainy day, and sure, it poured. So, good work on staff to find those monies to avoid an interim tax levy. My question is, some of these areas is the reserves gone. It's down to zero. So without picking any particular one, if you can just comment on some, I don't know, I'll just pick one here. Heritage Victoria now has no reserve. What's the impact there moving forward? Not specific to that, but generally speaking, going forward.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So as part of the budget surplus policy, surplus and deficit disposition policy, we strategically asked Council to approve moving monies into 4 main categories in the reserves. The approach that we've taken is that while I'll call it one pot of money, might be down to zero, what we're trying to do is build up a more generic, strategic, untethered reserve so that it can be used for multiple purposes and lesser specific purposes to give us the adaptability when you, Council, need to use a reserve.
Thank you. My apologies. You answered that question before I asked the question. Thank you.
Councillor Ashmore.
Thank you. Through you to Director Bukaboom. Just 2 quick questions. So the deficit, that the number is before or after, just to clarify, because I haven't seen this online yet, because we've just seen it here. That $18 million deficit, that is before or after the $25 million from the province to offset it?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is after the shortfall in the provincial funding. And again, many thanks to the province, because we would have been in a very different situation. But this 18.3 million deficit includes the 2.2 differential between the grant and the monies expended by the city for the storm cleanup. We spent approximately 29 million, and we got 26.2 million.
And finally, a couple of terms ago, 2014, I think there's only 2 of us that were on here at the time, there was a debenture that was brought forward, I think it was 20 or 25 million, and from what I remember, it was talked about as it got paid down, that it could be replenished or it could be used again, that basically a secured line of credit. Is that another option to use that, or because that was probably going to be, it had a really short amortization on it. It was only like, it would have been paid within 10 years, I think, or 15 years. Is there any availability to tap into that again?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, our long-term financial plan is identifying all sources of revenue, whether that be debenture, reserves, tax, borrowing. So the long-term plans coming before you every year do include all the sources of funding we're tapping into. We are trying to reduce the reliance on debt for the state of good repair, but we do bring you forward long-term plans with a debt strategy. We'll also be bringing forward to all of council in Q2 what the current long-term financial plan is, given the update on all the capital projects in the 5 and 10-year plan. Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I know the treasurer will be following along online. I'm going to correct a statement. 25.6 million was the amount for the grant. I misspoke from memory when I was going through the slides.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just not 100%. So I thought that it was a debenture, 25 million, I believe, and it was 10 years ago, but it was paid down, but can that be?
We did that to fund capital projects. It was good debt in that we had something to show for it, and we paid it down over 10 years, and it was gone. So it's no longer there, and we have a debt strategy that's coming forward, and we also have a long-term financial plan. But we have our reserves there, and that's the reason why we have reserves, is to use them in unusual circumstances and to fund projects that need to get funded. So the answer to your question is it's not available. Councillor McDonald.
Yeah, thanks through you. Thanks for the report. Just a question with the special levy at the end of the year. So the OPP is 921,000, area rated, and transit 611,000. Is that because that was over budget, both of those, and that's the reason why?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is correct. Those two areas in the 2025 operations. And again, the OPP was related to the reconciliation bill for the 2024 year, so it was unanticipated in our 25 budget. So that will be area rated to the residents in the OPP area. And the transit area was over budget in the 25 to the amount of 611, and therefore will be raised on the final bill for 2026 coming forth shortly.
How does the transit get over budget? What type of things does happen in the transit to be over budget?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the report coming forward on April 21st will address further details on the variance. If you were anticipating an answer today, I didn't want to put the director on the spot, but we'll be going into further detail on the variance for the April 21st report.
Take your pick, ridership or cost of vehicles? I have no more questions at this point. Ms. Daines, you had your hand up. Did you get your point made, or did you have something?
No, through you, Mayor, to Councillor Ashmore. I just wanted to remind Council that you cannot debenture for operating deficits. You can only debenture for capital projects. So I just wanted to ensure that you all understand that that's not an option to deal with the deficit at this time.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Now to apprise you of some current situations in 2026 that we've been experiencing. Of course, I think we're all aware it's been a very heavy winter again, and it's been never ending. So therefore, we are here to advise that we're at approximately 85 to 90% spent on the winter control budget for 2026. That is an estimated $12 million. This is resulting from operational costs associated with more occurrences, larger occurrences, more deployment, but also in relation to the provincial-wide salt shortage requiring increased shipping. I believe we got the salt from Quebec, which put some duress on the 26 budget now. Also, we're all waiting imminently to see what happens to our increased fuel prices, which will have not only an impact potentially on our operations, but it may impact our construction also. If the asphalt price index goes up in relation to the fuel prices, the cost of our capital dollars may not go as far this year. Uncertainty in the housing market and the slowing growth, while all of this economic unrest is out there, as well as the increased policing costs. Back in relation to the capital projects, and in addition to the asphalt price index, you've seen that we've taken the reserves down to minimal balances, and while they are healthy in terms of being managed, if a tender were to come in over budget in 2026, we may not have the same aptitude to deal with that overage as we've had in the past as a result of this 2025 situation. What we've been doing in order to stay on top of the 2026. We are pleased to say that we've increased monitoring of the 26 actuals. I'll call it in real time. This is in regards to a lot of business intelligence being utilized in the city's enterprise financial system. We're using things like business intelligence to develop financial dashboards that are as up to date as we can. We've been implementing customer citizen portals to recognize revenue in real time. We're embedding business intelligence to route the approval of invoices so that they're constantly moving through the system and less manual effort. All of this is in an effort to apprise all of the department heads, the city as a whole, council, with where the results of 2026 in year will be. We're reviewing and assessing all opportunities arising from the provincial budget announced in late March. One of note, I'm looking every day to Director Johnson. The community sport, recreation, and infrastructure was one such intake, and teams are on it, they're reviewing, but that would allow some adaptability and an alleviation of some funds. The council imposed 7.5 efficiency savings, 7.5 million efficiency savings target in 2026 is being monitored. SMT and the whole city are doing well towards this, but it is definitely putting additional pressure on the 26. We want to prioritize the replenishment of the needed reserves going into the reserve strategy. When we bring the reserve strategy forward to you in Q2, the Environmental Disaster Recovery Reserve will be one such reserve that requires more significant investment than some of the others, just in relation to the weather events of the past few years. We'll be looking at one-time opportunities to be able to ingest some funding into that reserve, as well as balancing future budgets and long-term plans with a slow and steady contribution to those reserves. We'll be undertaking a line-by-line review of the winter control budget and looking for any and all ideas that are evident there. We'll be analyzing bringing in the hybrid service models, and maybe we'll balance that with more in-house if opportunities exist. With the ice storm financing advancing now, we've got installment number 1. We're waiting for the province to get through the review process to flow the rest of the money. That, together with the loan for the Summit Wellness Center, these funds will be invested and help us achieve our interest savings target that was amiss in 25 from the cash depletion that we experienced. So in conclusion, we are progressing on updating the city's long-term financial plan. It was last reviewed by Council August 26, 2026, and we're doing an encompassing update to that one, including updating the results of the 26 budget on the long-term plan. We're working diligently at the reserve and debt strategy to bring you a responsible, flexible plan that allows you to manage the finances of the City of Kawartha Lakes. We're going to include rationalization and more city-wide reserves with recommended balances, albeit they might be minimum balances to commence this strategy, and how do we build up those reserves. We'll also focus on building emergency preparedness, most specifically, and weather event response and recovery. That, Mr. Mayor, ends the presentation.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. Councillor Warren.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the presentation, I guess. During the budget committee, when we were talking about hiring, so is there a hiring freeze on? There was in the budget, I don't know how many people were to be hired. So has that happened, or are we using that to help, offset some of our increases? That's my first question.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll start with that, but I'm happy to pass it over to the CAO as well for additional comment. At the Budget Committee, you did see the new positions embedded in the budget, and we had a strategy to defer some of those to mid-year end of year in order to give some savings in the budget area. As part of the $7.5 million savings target, though, directors and all department heads have been going through and identifying if that's one of the ways that they will achieve their savings target. So at this point, it's been, I'll say, somewhat a slower uptake on some of the new positions, and we'll get back on track when we see whether the 7.5 has been achieved or not. We're also working on a 3 to 5 year salary management plan that will bring forward where the gap areas are in the city's salaries and organization chart, and we'll bring you back a more methodical strategy to address that. But the CAO says that was sufficient for an answer, so.
So we mustn't be alone. There must be other municipalities that are going through this difficult time. I'm sure are you getting information from other municipalities? Or are we kind of alone in the wilderness?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think the perfect storm that hit us in 2025, we're a little bit of an anomaly. We had the ice storm, we had the forest fires, we had, all municipalities are experiencing the slow growth. But I think compounding all of these things into 1 year, everybody experienced harsh winters as well. We could have adapted to any one of those, but all of those in 1 year, I feel like we were a little bit of an anomaly in the province in that regard.
And just on that, it's great that the province helped us out with the majority of funding for that. Going forward, are there grants through the province for emergency funding so we could beef up our possibility of dealing with this again, our reserves?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't believe that we ought to be anticipating any funding from the province for emergency preparedness or this type of weather events we've been experiencing. I think 2025, we were very blessed to get the grants we did. We are very thankful to the province, but I don't believe we should anticipate that kind of a restitution, if you will, on damages going into the future. I think we have to build our own sustainable plan for these weather events.
I could confirm, talking to Parliamentary Assistant Ray this morning, that he was quite quick to say, you got a one-off. Councillor Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks very much. And as you said, City of Kawartha Lake certainly had its fair share of unprecedented expenses in the last little while. I'm just wondering, are we also considering as a possible strategy to deal with some of these 2026 pressures as consider in I hate saying this, taboo, change in level of service?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor, only council can make that decision in terms of the service level. So far in our 7.5 targeted savings, we've been able to do that predominantly without affecting service levels. But if 2026 proves to, at this point, we will be looking at the Q1 and trying to get a handle on exactly what the situation looks like. But I believe at any time, council has the ability to affect service level for savings.
Thank you, and I'm aware of that. I just wanted to say it out loud because we do have some challenging times, and it's going to probably take some challenging measures to make sure that we get through this. So thank you for the honesty.
Councillor Perry.
Thanks very much, Mayor, and thank you for this report emanating from the Audit Committee, our meeting last week. I know that there is a line there that stuck with me around the slowdown of growth due to market forces. And I know at budget time, we were preparing for growth and have for the past few years. Now we're seeing a market-driven slowdown in growth. Are we able to get more information on what that slowdown is looking like, what its impact is, what its features are for our future decision making? Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor,
Not today.
Not today.
Longer term,
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, we are tracking the building permits and working with developers to anticipate future onboarding of applications, et cetera. But yes, it is a critical step to formulating a long-term financial plan. Alternatively, if the growth isn't coming with the rapidity that we had built into our long-term financial plans, we'll reconsider some of the capital projects and look to defer them a year or two, pending how the growth is surmising.
Okay, thank you for that. And I'm just curious, because it's so crucial to budgeting and forecasting for budgeting that we have to ultimately approve around this table, will we be seeing numbers on the growth rates to help inform those decisions moving forward?
I think there's a couple of things on the go that we need to see. One is taking the HST off new builds up to $1 million and what the impact of that is going to be, and also the 8.8 billion to get a reduction in the development charges, and alternately also the change in the provincial policy on lot sizes for infilling in urban areas. All of those could impact on housing and hopefully will start to stimulate some of the housing.
Sure, and thanks for that, Mayor. I guess my point simply is, will we be kept abreast of that as council? We had, preparing for growth was a big theme again this year in budgeting, and now even in this presentation, we have a slowdown in growth. So I'm just want to make sure that we're able to keep our eye on that ball, facilitated and supported by staff.
Yep.
Thank you.
Councillor Ashmore.
Thank you. Through you to Director. You mentioned about deferring capital projects, and if you have to in the future, would that be when you come back with another forecast, long-term plan, financial update? Previously, we've always been told that we have basically a low loan to value. If we look at all our assets that we have, like our aggregate assets, our land assets, are you looking at everything as far as, utilizing or looking at some of these land assets or aggregates as an example of paying down debt and lowering our debt servicing and then helping our cash flow? So in other words, is everything on the table according to what you think in the next year? There could be anything, like a combination of deferring capital projects and or trying to stimulate. We've been told by the province that we want to help you out because your development charges, you're not getting the growth. So we're not getting the growth, and we thought we were going to get the growth, but we're not, unfortunately. I know it's not a regional problem, it's a whole provincial problem, a nationwide problem. But anyways, we're just speculating, but leave it at that, what the future's going to hold.
Just a mini rant.
No, it's not so much a rant, but just we were told, we're always told, Manager Daines says, well, we have a low loan to value when you look at the debt that we have as, compared to our assets. And while we're okay, there's not a problem. We can handle our debt because we're not proportionately, we have a very low loan to value. If you look at your mortgage on your house or your farm or your business, if you can cash flow it, but there's always room, if you have enough equity, not to stretch you right to 75, 80% loan to value, but we are relatively still a low loan to value, right? We have a lot of equity in our corporation. That's it.
Thank you. So I need a mover and seconder that the presentation by Sarah Bokaboom, Director of Corporate Services, regarding the 2025 deficit disposition and 2026 challenges be received, and that this recommendation be brought forward to council for consideration at the next regular council meeting. Councillor Perry, Councillor Joyce. All in favor? And that's passed. Moving on to consent matters. I have one thing to do before consent matters. We had another piece of correspondence today to be received from former Councillor Stovall on the ALTO high-speed rail. Can I have a motion to receive that correspondence? Councillor Warren, Deputy Mayor Richardson, all in favor? And that's passed. Thank you. For consent matters, under item 814, I'll look for a motion that all the proposed recommendations shown in section 8.1 of the agenda be approved by the Committee of the Whole in the order that they appear on the agenda, sequentially numbered and forwarded to council for consideration at the next regular council meeting, save and except item 812, 813, 814, and that item 814, Table B within report CLK, I think that should be CKL, 2026-006, lists the policies that have been repealed. One of the entries in Table B, being the employee expense policy, will be shifted to Table C so that it can be renumbered as that policy is still in place. So can I have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Perry, Councillor McDonald, all in favor? And that's passed. So the first extraction is item 812, Councillor Warren.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and I was able to get in touch with Suzanne Murchison, so she's answered most of my concerns, so I will move the recommendation as printed.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Deputy Mayor Richardson, any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? And that's passed. Next item is street municipal facility and park naming policy update. Councillor Perry.
Very briefly, Mayor, I simply wanted to extract this to acknowledge and thank the Deputy Clerk for his interaction with me. There he is on the screen, for his interaction and process with me on some input and reflections I had. It was a great back and forth on the Indigenous additions to the street naming policy, and really served as a fulfilling process, both as a councillor on my side at least, and really wanted to say thank you publicly. It worked very, very well. That's all.
Thank you. Would you like to move the...
Will move it.
As printed, seconder, Councillor Warren. All in favor? And that passes. Item 814 is the council policy review, and that's Councillor Ashmore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a conversation with Deputy Clerk. The reason I extracted it was when I was looking at the different tables. Table 1 indicates the implemented and updated policies, and then Table 2, or Table B rather, is the rescinded ones. But it was Table C that it kind of caught my eye, and it said that these did not require any updates. And when I look at the list, there's a lot of items here that I feel that should be updated down the road. And for example, street light policy, I think it should be, just as an example, I'm not going to go through all of them, I'm moving this, but just outlining this or indicating this, pointing this out. Street light policy, for example, I think we need to have some sort of a like a time frame when street lighting is approved by council or it's warranted, and then it's completed. Right now, it's, as an example, like I have 2 streetlights that have been improved like 3 years ago, and they haven't been installed yet. I know there's different reasons, and I know the reasons, but there's also another one pending as a discussion next year budget. But also that there's roadway classifications, and when we had the roads task force, we went through a lot of this. Councillor Perry did most of the work here. The level of service policy and some of these items here that, you know, we did a lot of work on it, and I think we should be updating them in some shape or form in the near future. That's all I'm trying to point out. I think that, you know, we put a lot of work into this, and some of these items here should be updated. So I guess my quick question is, I'll move this, but to Deputy Clerk O'Connell, is what sort of a time frame would you foresee that these Table C items would be updated in the future? Thanks.
How about if you have, you seem to have a number of them that are concerning you, if you send her an email with the list, rather than have her try and speculate on which ones you might you might be interested in.
That's fine.
Is that fine?
That's good, thanks, yeah.
Okay. So are you moving it as, you're moving it as printed?
As printed, yeah.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Yo? You find not, you want to talk to it, or?
Yeah, I think everybody here has something on, everybody in council, I'm sure has something on this list that they would like to see updated, but I just think that, I know we've done a lot of work, or staff have done a lot of work updating all these other tables, Table A and B, but Table C, there's still quite a bit that could be updated, but I'll individually send an email. I'm sure, I think I would encourage other members of council to send an email to if they have anything on this list that really should be considered to be updated.
Thank you. Councillor Yo, do you want to talk to it?
I think it's on topic, but in the policy review, I didn't see anything regarding ward structures and stuff, and I thought this was a year where you're going to take another look at that and update it. You can tell me if I'm wrong, because I'd like to see that on an upcoming agenda if it isn't, and because I have some serious issues and thoughts on the way the city's made up that I'd like to do something about. But I don't know if that's part of the policy review this year. I thought it was, but.
Okay. I will check. We have a mover and seconder, all in favor? And that's passed. We have already dealt with the memorandum regarding ALTO, so we don't need to do that again. So we're down to adjournment. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Perry, Councillor Yo, all in favor, and that's passed. Thank you very much for today.